Liberia, les îles voisins Liberia, et les temps d'automne. Bringing some glory issue for better discussion.
Sekou Cherry. Liberia, listen to the voice of Liberia. It is time to talk. Break it. Good evening, Liberia. Good evening, Liberians. Hello and welcome, those of you joining us out of Liberia. I want to use this time to say hello and welcome to today's edition of the program. Issues of today, right here on Voice of Liberia 104.1. Today's edition promises to be fascinating, interesting, by the way, you don't want to miss. Sitting, giving you the opportunity so that your voices can be heard on critical national issues. And let me say, be hopeful. Because your permanent condition will never remain the same. When life is difficult and when everything turns bad in everything you do, always remember that even a turtle can finish a race as long as he never gives up. Do you know how slow it walks? We are not giving a good life or a bad life. We are giving a life. It is up to us to make it good or bad. What you do is what you're going to be judged after. A small dot can stop a big sentence. But a few more dots can give continuity. Amazing, but truth. Every ending can be a new beginning. Don't mind the current condition you find yourself. And the good thing about this, you need to know when the wings of life is pushing your back, that's when you push forward the hardest. But you don't know that life is a game of chess. You cannot undo the moves, but you can make the next step better for yourself. And you know, most of the things in our lives, they all start with dreams. Dreams create desires. Desire creates determination, which leads to our destination. Good evening, Liberia. Good evening, Liberians. What a great way to be back here on the People's Program Issues of Today on Voice of Liberia 104.1. This is where we converge at about this time to talk about all of the things in Liberia. Like I always say, some of the issues are good, some of the issues are bad. How can we work as people to make the bad ones good? We work as a people to make the good ones to continue to be good in the interest of our country, Liberia. My name is Sekou, and I'm Sekou Sharif, sitting here with you up to 9 o'clock tonight. This evening, you don't want to miss it, and you always want to be here. We're going to give you a lineup of what we're going to be doing on today's edition of the program, Issues of Today, right here on Voice of Liberia. We also live on our television, Voice of Liberia TV. You can go on Facebook, you will get us there. And we also live on our online radio on www.voice of Liberia online.com. So you can go there, you will get us. And we're also on YouTube. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, you will get us very crystal clear, and you will follow all of the interesting programs we do here, particularly issues of today. And too many things happening in Liberia. Um, the president announcement he made of recent, where the president announced made a proclamation, uh, meaning announcing that on Friday will be a national holiday. It is intended for the national census in the country, and so that has come. That announcement has been, receiving some, quote unquote, mixed reactions within the public. Um, we will also talk about that a little bit, and we will join enumerators from across Liberia. We will join enumerators from across Liberia to talk to them concerning where do they stand. Remember, today there was a press conference held in Grand Bassa County, and the folks there made their points clear, and also we will speak to most of them from across the country, enumerators, to tell us about where are they, as the government will be having um, the president has been able to announce that on uh, on um, on Friday, he has announced it. It is a proclamation now. That means everyone should abide by it. It's like a law now in the country. So we'll talk to them. Are they going to be part of the process, or where do they stand as we speak concerning that issue? Because we continue to see continued protests in the country. We will join in a jiffy. We will join one of the members of the election committee of the Press Union of Liberia, Madam Caroline Myers, will join us. Remember, on yesterday there were some allegations made by one of the candidates, one of the persons vying for the president of Liberia presidency, Mr. Julius Kanamba, that there are a lot of names that are not to be on the voter roll. That process, he wants the voter roll to be cleaned up, and so that you can have a very free, fair, transparent. And there are a lot of things he thinks has not been put in place. So when order for what he thinks has not been put in place, there won't be any free, fair, and transparent president of Liberia elections. So he thinks, and he's calling for a very unique process. So we'll speak to her. He made some allegations as well. It's being one of the members, we'll speak to her on that issue to know if some of the allegations are true, if they've done some of the things, or is it that I've heard some other people talking about, genitals names are all on the listing for the final listing for those of the people who's going to be voting in the president of Liberia elections. And at 4:30, like we usually, 6:30, like we usually do, we'll go to our international correspondents to give us international update. And we're going to be speaking to most of our correspondents this evening on the program. We'll go to Sierra Leone to talk to the man John Whitfield. We'll also go to Naomi Kumbenda there in Nigeria. We'll go to Lesotho to talk to our Lesotho correspondent. We'll also go to Ghana to talk to Jonas Biarubi to tell us about what's happening in Ghana concerning some other issues in the country. So we will talk to Jonas Biarubi as well from Ghana on the program. At 7 this evening, we have our two distinct guests. Both of them, they've come from the government, and Honorable Randall Dobayu, the Deputy Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, and that of Honorable Daniel Nuke Thomas, Assistant Minister for Information Services at the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs, and Tourism. The both of them will join us here this evening to talk about the MCC scorecard. Mind you, the government of Liberia did well in the recent published MCC scorecards. That means there has been a lot of improvements in some of the areas. They passed a certain number. So the way Jonas will talk about the MCC scorecards, looking at how the government becomes successful. What are some of the measures they put in place, and what are some of the things the government they're currently working on to even make them to be part of the compact, if it is possible, though, and much more other developmental initiatives of the government. We'll talk more about that on the program. And so you don't want to miss it. You also want to invite someone to listen along with you. The both of them will be my guests on the show. And we will have a fruitful discussion here. But before them, hope we have the lineup for the enumerators now. We can join them. But before them, let's there's the president of the Republic of Liberia, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They came up. There was a proclamation made by the president, and that proclamation says that on Friday of this week will be a national holiday, and that means people, Liberians, foreign national, those of the people residing within the bailiwick of Liberia, are not to go to work, are to remain to their homes, so as to give the enumerators the opportunity to carry out the process or the processes involved about the workings of legis. I want to say a few things. I continue to see mistakes, and I continue to see shortcomings within this entire legis process. And this is particularly from Lagos. The activities of Lagos to conduct census. Conducting a census is not as the way the current administration, the current heads of Lagos are handling the issues. Why I'm saying this? You cannot conduct a census without the proper information being disseminated to the Liberian people. Has Lagos been able to adequately inform Liberians about the importance of census? Has Lagos been able to educate the people as to how the census will be carried out? What are the benefits of the census? Certainly, they've not done it. Lagos, only thing they've done, they've appeared on one or two radio stations not to explain properly the essence and importance of the census. You all tell Famata to bring the contact numbers and whatsoever the enumerators. The thing is, the only thing the guys have been able to do at Lagos, they were able to appear based on informations that were disclosed to the Liberian people concerning the corruption they are carrying out within Lagos. But what they should have done, and this is how it should be, you cannot conduct census in the absence of the citizens not being educated, informed about the process to the census and the importance of the census and why they should form part of the census. By now, there should be jingles across the country. No matter you like it or not, you need to do it on various radio stations, not in just English, but in the various local dialects, or maybe 75% of the local dialects. There are people in Liberia that don't understand English. No matter how simple you speak in English, they won't understand. What becomes of such people that have not been informed about the importance and why they should form part of the census process? And what is it all about census? There are some people you ask them, they don't know. There are people you ask, they don't know what is census and why they should carry out census and what census is all about, what's the outcome of the census, what the end results of conducting census. There are people that don't know the essence and the importance of census. Have we done well to educate the people about it? Certainly no. We just talk about the normal thing, all the allegations, they continue stealing at the institution, and people come in to defend and say, oh, they're not wrong, they are not responsible for what has happened wrong, and all these things. But the issue of informing the people as to what to be done and what is the importance of the census, it has not been done. It has not been done. And so on Friday or Friday or whatsoever the time they're going to be conducting the census, how sure are you that just the proclamation by the president is so much sufficient to make the people to be to where they are to be? How sure are you? So now you see, once something is not being done from the initial stage, from the foundation of what should have been done, that has not been done. No matter what you do, it won't be done at all. This is the case with this entire census thing. This census will determine the upcoming independence, transparency of the upcoming elections. Because we don't know the total population, in fact. We don't, there are a lot of things that Liberians don't know. So with this census, I'm not talking about most of the allegations now that were made, but now I'm talking about the education aspect of the process. The education aspect of the process has not been done. But this too is Liberia. Let's speak to Madam Carolina Miles, one of the election members of the president of Liberia. We're going to talk to her, and we'll dive more now into the religious issue by calling some aggrieved, enumerators from across the country. We'll go to Grand Bassa, we'll go to Mangibi, we'll go to Nimba, we'll go to we have two Mangibi. Okay, so we have one in Kakata and we have one in unification time, and we'll also go to Nimba. We'll speak with two persons as well from Nimba. We'll go to Ganta, Sanikole, and also we'll go to Grand Bassa County. We'll speak with the folks from there concerning this issue. But we'll go to Madam Caroline Myers, who's one of the elections members of one of the election members of the president of Liberia. She joins us on the line. Good evening, Madam Caroline Myers. How you doing?
I'm okay.
It's good you've joined us. Welcome on the program Issues of Today on Voice of Liberia.
Okay.
Do you care to introduce yourself so that those of the people listening will exactly know who are you and which one of the positions you occupy within the election process of the president of Liberia, or what you're doing in one of the positions?
Like you said, my name is Kelly Mayansodwa. I chair Congress. I'm the chair for the Congress committee.
Okay, thank you. You chair for the Congress committee. There are a lot of allegations coming out concerning some issues. One of the candidates in the ongoing process has alleged that things are not happening rightly. For example, names are on the final voting list that are not to be there, and they are calling for total cleanup of that list and some other issues. Are there truth allegations?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that the final voter roll has not been published.
Okay. So the ones that were published was what?
It's a preliminary voter roll.
Okay.
And elections monitoring body around the world, when they release provisional roll, is for people to review the roll. If there are issues, they raise issues, and those issues are investigated. And then the final voter roll is published.
But
so what was published is the provisional voter roll in keeping with the electoral guidelines.
Since that was published, according to you, are there been reports of some discrepancies in a point where people are saying names are on the published list that are not to be there?
Come again?
Have you received complaints from any of the candidates complaining that names are being placed on the listing the preliminary listing, as you said in your words, that they are not to be
Oh,
there.
yes, yes. We receive complaints from the Judas Canova national campaign team, and the complaint was received, and due process was being followed, and we have not come to the conclusive resolution of the complaint.
Now, with these kinds of complaints coming, and there's this, some other allegations that most of you people on said committees that are taking the president of Liberia to election are members or are being able to favor the candidature of Daniel Yankona. How can you distance yourself and your colleagues from said allegations?
Well, I would not want to signify that accusation or that allegation because what we have consistently said that in as much as everybody is a member of the presidium and they have voting rights, there's a likelihood that people may have a side that they want to vote for. But when it comes to the work, we maintain that we are professional and ethical in everything that we do. As a sign of that demonstration of our ethics, we collectively develop a code of conduct for everybody working on Congress, including all of its subcommittees. We should also include a committee on elections and inauguration.
Okay, okay. We lost her, but then let's go ahead. We have too many things on our plate. We're going to go to the enumerators across the country. Our international update is up next. I'm seeing our Sierra Leone correspondent is joining us on the television. John Whitfield is watching. We'll soon come to our international update. Let's go around Liberia to talk to aggrieved enumerators. Now, the president has come up with a proclamation saying that Friday, meaning the enumerators are to work, because that's going to be holiday to allow Liberians to go. So we're going to go to Grand Bassa County to talk to Jonathan Nawa. Jonathan Nawa is the PRO for Religious Aggrieved Enumerators in Grand Bassa County. Jonathan joins us now from Grand Bassa. Jonathan, hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Is it Jonathan Nawa?
No.
Okay, so let's get the next person. My gosh. So let's go to the next county. What our guys? I don't know how our producer do this, and it is not the producer, but the person that packaged it. They should be solely from Famata and the correspondence. This is totally, unfair. So let's go to someone else, to the other counties, to talk to. Let's go to Mangibi now to see as well we can talk to the aggrieved, the chairman of aggrieved enumerators in Mangibi County, specifically in Kakata, to talk to the chairman there, and then we'll roll on to go to other counties as well to speak to them. Some of the aggrieved enumerators. Mario, we expect Friday to see how it plays out and how they're going to come up to do what they have to do in terms of having the census in the country. So we want to establish contacts with some of the aggrieved enumerators. We want to know if are they going to, be part of the process, or have they received any words of encouragement coming from ladies, or things have been settled, and there's a bit of understanding now in the entire process, and where do they stand as per the president proclamation, allowing them to form part of the process. Are they part of the process, or there stay this, misunderstanding, quote unquote, they need their money, or they don't want to work, and then Liz has not been able to do what she's to do. Lots more allegations coming. Like I've always said, and I will say this: Wilmer Smith cannot prove anyone wrong. Wilmer Smith cannot prove anyone wrong because he's 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 the head of corruption, right? So anything he does, we will still get the kinds of negative reports coming up about you know issue concerning what's happening with enumerators. And today in Grand Bassa, there were issue. I think the enumerators they had a it's a press conference, yes, and they made their point very clear as to what they intend to do and how they're going to do it, concerning the 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 enumerators in that area. But my thing is the rightful education has not been sent out there to the people so that they can be fully aware of what is it all um, about census. What is census all about? What is the importance of census? What it stands to bring in terms of conducting census? How will it be? You don't even yet. The only thing you hear on radio stations about legis or the census is about protest, or something else is happening, or the folks are protesting, or you hear about them stealing certain amount of money from the area. But let's go to Mangibi County to talk to Abraham Makati. Abraham, good evening.
Yeah, how you doing, sir?
Thank you for joining us from. Are you joining us from Kakata?
Yeah, the camera is live there, and we just got thinking for the day because the school went off, and we was estimated to take the test, and we went through the test, but we were so successful. But right away, but our money, one is that the people lied to us since with the workshop, and we have a second workshop in Canada. We never have a penny. But we're surprised by the minister. The minister told us that that's a caucus that will get you on the street for demonstrating for the pay. We were pursuing that workshop at that time. No one fed us. We ourselves feed ourselves. So really, for that release for the president of the Minister of Finance yesterday, it will blame the lie.
Let me ask you this question. You say you people took the test today again?
Come again?
You say you people took test today?
We ourselves fed ourselves. It's not nobody. We're not having no cook.
Sorry, sir. I'm not asking you about feeding. I'm asking you, did you say that you people took tests today?
Yeah, that was tests were going on today. Tests were going on today.
Every one of you were allowed to take the test, or they said certain number of persons will take the test?
No, it's because after they gave us a station, they make a new listing, they brought it in, and we had to advocate for our other comrades to read to sit for the test and go for the workshop because there was a listing that keep going to our various sectors. It was not properly done. So we had to re-advocate for our company.
So meaning the names of those that were not involved in the listing today, they were also added to the test today?
Everyone went for the test. But what happened is that the workshop began from last month to this month, we have not have any opinions for any of the agency.
Now, what is the hope of you guys this time around? You're gonna have transparent process. Are you people informed as to when will be the process?
No, trust me. We are doing this to tell the black people that we love our country. But trust me, they'll come tomorrow or this end of Friday. No one going to use a gadget. No one will accept our money to pay.
So meaning even if even if religious accept you people, once your money not being paid, you will not stay do the job.
There will be absolutely no center. No one will go in there center. And now the center we holding a meeting tonight with a power question. Who set for this case? We are going to host meeting with them, and now I'm telling everyone as a chairman or limited chairman to tell every one of them that no one going to sit or get on the field.
But did
you have the
before I leave you, did religious authorities inform you people that they will pay the money, or how soon they will pay the money?
No, but the King brother said for another Friday. So we don't care about Friday. We told the people like go and pay for your test. Okay. After the test, no one will get on the seat.
Okay.
Not when the sun will see our 50% of our money.
Okay, how much in total? Okay, we lost him. We go to the next person. We need to run to our international correspondents. You listen to the chairman of the enumerators in Kakata. Let's go to another enumerator in one of the other counties. We just want to squeeze in them now so we can run to our international correspondents. John is hitting my back. You know, the international correspondents are expecting our calls now while we're here doing the enumerators thing. So we want to go to Sunny Cole now to talk to Prince Seto Kwa in Sunny Cole, Nimba County. One of the heads of the aggrieved enumerators there. We hope we can have them. If we can have every one of them, we will need to run to our international desk. We will need to run to our international desk. Yes, okay. Wow, no time. We need to go to our international correspondents. No time. We need to run, folks. The time is not in our favor, so we need to go. You know, John. We need to go to John. John very first. We need to go to John Whitfield, our Sierra Leonean correspondent. In Freetown, Sierra Leone, where we're going to speak to John about the High Court in Sierra Leone has sentenced 5 accused persons for various corruption offenses, such as misappropriation of donor funds. John, join us now from Freetown, Sierra Leone. Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
John, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the phone line.
John, your background is very bad. We appreciate for you to do some adjustment with it because you have thousands of people listening. Now, the High Court in Sierra Leone has sentenced 5 accused persons for various corruption offenses, such as misappropriation of donor funds. Who are these 5 persons that have been, convicted so far?
Well, these were people who mismanaged as well as misappropriated money that were given by donors, and the monies were given to be used for Sierra Leone and for Sierra Leoneans. But what they did was to convert it into their own personal gain and to also put it into what the SEC has described as unexplained wealth.
Which donor funds did they misappropriate, and what was it for, by the way?
And so these people, which are 5 in number, arraigned before the Honorable Justice Combat Commander, were there for several corruption offenses. Because, as an institution, the Anti-Corruption Commission has been preaching messages about anti-corruption. And so convicted this Akuna Daniels, representing various offices like former Quality Assurance Officer, Plan International, offices also of Executive Officer of Community Empowerment. And when I am before the landed judge, he did tell them that they have counts of corruption charges, misappropriation of donor funds, contrary to Section 37, subsection 1, and also conspiracy to commit a corruption offense contrary to our laws of Sierra Leone.
What are some of the other different offenses they committed?
So some other offenses they committed were converting, now not just misappropriating, but converting these monies meant for Sierra Leone and Sierra Leoneans into their personal being, and some of them within the shortest possible time have certain wealth that they cannot explain, and thereby the court has described those wealth as unexplained wealth, and which is also contrary to our laws of Sierra Leone.
Have they been fined so far as the way they've been convicted?
Yes, so the judge has given fines. There are certain fines ranging from about $400 to $500 or 3 years imprisonment. And the judge further ordered that the convict pays back to the FCC within the shortest possible time, which is 6 months. And this is from the date of the judgment.
Thank you very much, John Whitfield from Freetown, Sierra Leone, on the program, who's Voice of Liberia, Sierra Leonean correspondent. On the line there, we go to Nigeria, where President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria has on today congratulated 8 Nigerian Americans on their victory during the midterm elections in the United States of America. Naomi Kumbenda will tell us more about this issue. She joins us now on the program. Naomi, good evening.
Good evening, Sekou. Thank you for having me.
What is it like about the president of Nigeria congratulating 8 Nigerian Americans on their victory during the midterm elections in the United States? Do you care to tell us more about this development?
Yeah, so some of the Nigerians who were successful in the elections, of course, there are some of them. We have Carol Kazim, who won the Pennsylvania State Representative in District 159, and then Esther Aboje. She was re-elected at Minnesota State Representative in District 59B, while Dr. Oye Owale was also re-elected to the U.S. House of Representatives Shadow Representative in Washington, D.C. Now, in a prayer for wishes for a successful tenure in office, President Muhammadu Buhari thanked them for their invaluable support and partnership over the years with groups affiliated to the ideals and objectives of Nigerians in Diaspora Association of the United States.
Naomi, what does this mean to Nigeria as a country and Nigerians, by the way?
Oh, well, this goes a long way to show the international community that not all Nigerian-born are bad people, which is the general reputation of Nigerians in the global stage. Now, these are Nigerian-born who only migrated and eventually nationalized. But of course, due to hard work, honest lifestyle, and integrity, it has earned them this much. In fact, receiving his unflinching support for every Nigerian excelling at home and abroad, President Muhammadu Buhari said he believes that compatriot and successful Nigerians in, of course, good causes are assets to the country and the nation and the continent at large, not that their contributions will always be remembered and they will be celebrated.
Thank you, Naomi Kumbenda from Nigeria on the program this evening. Issues of today right here on Voice of Liberia 104.1, also live on Voice of Liberia television. And we're live on www.voiceofliberiaonline.com. That's the online radio. You can also, get us on YouTube, Voice of Liberia. By the way, we go to Ghana now, where we're going to talk to the man, Jonas Biarubi, where Ghana's on-year inflation rose to 40.4% in October from 37.2% in September. The Ghana Statistical Service has announced in the country, which is on today. So we're going to talk to Jonas Biarubi to explain to us what it means for inflation to go up and what is it like, because Ghana, we're getting report from Ghana about this issue about inflation and the currency has dropped. Jonah has joined us on the line from Ghana on the program. Jonah, good evening.
Good evening, Sekou.
Now, there's this, announcement being made today by Ghana Statistical Service, which they said Ghana's year-on-year inflation rose to 40.4% in October, and from September, 37.2%. Explain to us what it means. Jonas, you need to get us. You coming in very bad.
Yes,
explain to us what it means for inflation to go up.
Well, so what it means is that anytime the inflation goes high in the country, in simple terms, what it means is that the amount of money that the Ghanaian citizens would need to purchase goods and services on the Ghanaian market has changed. So, for instance, if you needed $2 to be able to buy something, when the inflation goes high, it means that you would have to adjust it either to $3 or $4 before you will be able to purchase the same item. So automatically, when the inflation goes high, all goods and services on the Ghanaian market prices go up, and that's the implication. So as you rightly read out, it means that between the month of September and to October, there have been a tremendous increase in prices of goods and services on the Ghanaian market, despite all efforts by the government to salvage the economy. Even though in a few weeks, some 2 weeks ago, the Ghanaian cedi appreciated a little against the US dollar, but still the prices of goods and services continue to go up, and inflation will even come and worsen the situation because it will even go higher than it is currently right now on the market.
Does it come to worsen the hardship of Ghanaians in the country?
Exactly. So, because for instance, as we speak right now, Ghana is seriously in an economic crisis, and already there's little money in the system because citizens don't have access to money. They work and the money doesn't come. Even you have goods and services available, people cannot purchase because of the absence of money. But now, if already you are struggling to make ends meet, and the prices of goods that you will need on daily basis, for instance, according to the information from the Ghana Statistical Service, food, fuel, and then electricity were the major factors that push the inflation higher. So imagine that we cannot do without food, we cannot do without fuel, and we cannot do without electricity. So now, if the cost of all these three important items have gone higher, what would you expect from the ordinary citizen who feeds with just 10 cedis in a day? And the 10 cedis that you feed in a day, you would not be able to depend on it anymore because prices has gone up. You would need something either 5 cedis in addition to it. So definitely, situations will worsen if nothing is done about it.
Are Ghanaians still calling for the resignation of the president? He said that they've reached a point to understand that this is something that is affecting other countries around the world.
The calls continue to heighten on daily basis. As I reported yesterday, the signatures are still being collated so that they will petition Parliament to also impeach the president to resign, because as it stands now, they feel that the only option left is those in authority to give way for new leadership, because they feel no changes can be done and this current government cannot do anything to salvage the situation. Mind you, tomorrow, 10th of October, Parliament is going to vote on a vote of censure, which the minority members of Parliament have filed in Parliament. And what it means is that tomorrow, the whole of Parliament will be voting as to whether the finance minister should stay in office or he should be sacked. And so when they get 1/3 of members of Parliament voting yes that he should resign or he should be sacked, automatically, even the president has nothing to do about it. The finance minister will be thrown out and a new finance minister will be appointed. And in some 2 weeks ago, even members of Parliament from this government, from the New Patriotic Party and the majority side, came out and threatened that the president has to sack the finance minister or he should tell him to resign, or else they will not work for the government or they will not lead any government business in Parliament. But as it stands, tomorrow, that is where the Constitution will mandate them to vote against him or to still vote for him to be in Parliament.
Thank you very much, Jonas Biarubi from Ghana. He's Voice of Liberia, Ghanaian correspondent on the line. He, Yo, my brother. Today, you just got. I think it's a day now because today is Wednesday, tomorrow Thursday, Friday. They still conducting test. When will the test result come out? When will the people know who are supposed to be doing the census thing? But let me go to Amadou Kante. Yes, they can come in. Amadou Kante is Voice of Liberia, Gambian correspondent. I'm gonna go on the line to talk to Amadou from the Gambia. Um, uh, in Gambia, Gambia's Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration. Amadou joins us now from the Gambia. Amadou, good evening.
Good evening, Sekou, and thank you very much for having me once again.
It's good having you on the program. We're getting this report from the Gambia that Gambia's Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration, and Employment through the National Food Security and that of our marketing corporation has imported 139 containers of cooking oil as part of efforts to ease the burden on the citizenry of the country. You've been following all of the issues there. Tell us, how do you think Gambians will receive this news from the government?
Well, thank you very much once again. Well, I can say, if not all, but majority Gambians would welcome the news on a very positive note. And this is have to do because, the Gambian people generally have been very much concerned as to the position that the government have taken or was not doing in terms of the policies that the people face as far as living conditions are concerned. So if the government have decided to come up with this move of importing oil by itself to make sure that it can be sold to the people on a very cheaper price, I think that will be very welcoming. But generally people are somehow happy, but apparently as and until when the distribution is done in different part of the country, especially people in the remote side of the country may find it very difficult to get at the moment. But I can tell you, some Gambians were definitely very much happy with the decision.
Did the government promise to import other food items as they've been able to import cooking oil in the country?
I haven't mentioned that, in the recent update after this development, I probably also it might interest Gambians would of course would want the government to intervene not only in oil, rice, for example, which is one of the most consumed food in the country. So they would appreciate the government if the government can intervene on that, and sugar as well, and many of the other items that are used by Gambians on daily basis. So the government have not specifically given any other item that they intend to import into the Gambia. But what they rather said is that they are very much concerned on the economic turmoil that Gambians are going through. And as government, they are not relenting, and they are quite to make sure that they address some of the challenges. Yes, it's a global phenomenon, but they are very much up to the developments to make sure that they would do what they could at the best possible time to make sure that they ease some of the challenges that Gambians are going through at the moment.
Amadou, before we let you go, update us on the state of living in the Gambia, which it has pushed the government to intervene in bringing cooking oil. Is there any shortage of rice in the Gambia?
Yes, like I mentioned sometimes last week, that the state of living condition in the Gambia apparently is very challenging. It's a very difficult one, I can tell you. Different families or households struggle on daily basis to access to food. Yes, the government have decided to import oil, but I can tell you for free that it would not be enough to ease the greater burden that Gambians have been going through or are going through still. So apparently, as we speak, they are still challenged, they are still burden on the people. And prior to this development, Gambians have been complaining that the government was definitely not doing anything to their view to make sure that it will address the changes. But with this development, it might probably instigate some hope among the people.
Thank you very much. Amadou Kante is Voice of Liberia, correspondent in the Gambia, joining us this evening on the program Issues of Today, live on Voice of Liberia 104.1. We go to Lesotho, we call it a day to join our guests on the program. Lesotho's Prime Minister has begun implementing some of the promises he made he would achieve in his first 15 days in office. Politicians. God, we're gonna go to our Lesotho correspondent, who's gonna fill us in with this entire thing. Can Prime Minister really fulfill the promises he made within 100 days in the country? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the program tonight.
Thank you very much, Sharif. Thank you very much.
Now, the Prime Minister of Lesotho has begun implementing some of the promises he made he will achieve in his first 15 days in office. Can the Prime Minister of Lesotho really fulfill the promises he made within 100 days in office?
Yes, it is very much possible. It is very much possible because as we can see, he has actually, like I mentioned in the story, he has already cut the cabinet from 15 to 37. He has already implemented some of the changes that he said is going to make. Government, he's already started making a registry of the government share. So some of the things, I think 5 points out of the 20 points that he said he would achieve in the first 100 days he has already started achieving them. So it is very much possible.
Now, the cutting of ministers from 37 to 15, what does this mean for Lesotho?
Okay, it means that the government is going to be very cost saving. We are going to have a lot of millions of money that is going to be saved because a minister in Lesotho used to get approximately 45,000. So this means that in a month and other benefits like personal aid, free house, free car. So this means that government is going to save a lot of money. And Lesotho are very happy about this. Because they are saying that a lot of costs are going to be saved. There will be improvement of infrastructure and health service. So that money that used to be for ministers we use for other things that can help the nation.
Taking these kinds of actions in governance is sometimes very difficult. How easy would it be for the new government to restore the public confidence in her government?
Okay. I think it is going to be very easy. First, I should mention that the new prime minister was actually not a politician. At first, he was a businessman. He formed his party in March this year. So, he got the most votes in the National Assembly elections, which were held in October. So this shows that people have a lot of trust in him. So he knows that he has a number of tasks that he needs to fulfill. Because some of the career politicians, they have lost in great numbers. So he cannot in any way afford to disappoint the nation because they have given him so much power that they him so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. He's our Lesotho correspondent. Get the lights on. And you listen to him. That's how we call it a day. Like we announced today, we have our guests here with us now in studio. Our two great men of Liberia. One is from the Environmental Protection Agency. Another person is from MICA for short, Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism. It is indeed a great pleasure to have such important people in our country to appear on program of such. Honorable Randall Dobayu is the Deputy Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency. He sits in one of our hot seats to talk about the MCC scorecards and also some developmental issues of the George Weah-led administration. He's been joined by Honorable Daniel Thomas. He's the Assistant Minister for Information Services at the Ministry of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism. They've come to talk about MCC scorecard and some other government related developmental issues in the country. Let me use this time to say good evening to you, my own good friend and brother, Randall Dobayu. How you doing, sir?
Good evening, Sekou.
Hmm.
I'm doing well, and I'm glad to be
Hmm.
in your studio across the road for the first time.
Okay. How do you see the place?
I, Sekou, the place doesn't look okay.
You won't be fine.
It doesn't look okay, but honestly, I think I'm impressed with the physical outlook. I I am a fan of good infrastructure, so I think as a young man,
Mm.
a young entrepreneur, I must employ your effort in instituting this decent studio. So in short, I think the environment looks good, and I must applaud you for your effort.
Okay, thank you as well. And let me go to Minister Daniel Thomas. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Seiko. How are you today?
We're doing great. How you been faring?
Well, I'm very good. Just as Randall said, I want to say thank you for this massive upgrade.
Okay.
I remember some time ago I was across the road,
Mhm.
and coming here today reminds me of the kind of generational leader you are.
Okay.
These are some of the expectations that we look forward to as young people in our country. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you guys for coming, honor our invite to come and talk about the all-important MCC scorecard. And you can see, supporters of the government, how they continue to talk about it. And I think it's always important because these kinds of reports help any governments around the world. And our discussions for this entire segment, because we're going to be discussing up to 9 o'clock, we'll look at the Millennium Challenge Corporation, that's the MCC for short, scorecards released recently in the country. As you are aware, Liberia made a pass by scoring 12 out of 20 indicators, thereby making the country eligible for consideration for a compact, which is very, very important. We listened to the finance minister that was on yesterday saying that the president is about to officially write the MCC requesting to be admitted into the compact, which is another good news. So today we have of us, the both of you, to talk about it. We want to say again, welcome and thank for coming. We'll start with you, Mr. Dobayu. Um, First of all, we need to start by identifying what exactly we should have done over the years that we could not do, that led us to the continual failure of the MCC report in the country.
Thank you, Sekou. When you say continuous failure, we have to go into what continuous failure is. But I'm not speaking as a development expert. I'm not a development expert. I'm not speaking as an economist. Of course, I'm not one. Of course, my background, a refined environmentalist and climate practitioner. But I am a thinker in standard position. I am a Democrat. I understand practical governance. I know good from bad. And of course, I've traveled around the world. I know when people are improving or when people are not improving. To your question, the merit of your question is, so what have we been doing wrong that led us to failure? Let me just say this: government is continuity. In 2018, when President Weah took power, he inherited a government, and of course, without blame shifting, we all knew there were inherited challenges, right? When you look at the issue about economic freedom, the issue about uh, justice, the issue of rural law, freedom of information, health, primary expenditure, natural resources, immunization, and you look at all of these indicators on the Millennium Scorecard, you realize that first thing, ask yourself, how long has Liberia as a country been taking care of herself in terms of security, in terms of payroll, in terms of foreign direct investment? I give you this. Since 1990, since the war 1990, it was 2018. That was almost 1990 to 2018 is about 20 some more years. It was the first time for the government of Liberia to 100% take charge of her own security, meaning All of the security apparatus and security governance in the country, as of 2018, given the Jordan of Omeo, landed in the hands of the Liberian government. What did that do? It covered some revenue hole. It created some fiscal constraint because during the time period when the past government was passing, they had Omeo here catering to security and peace. That breading of catering to security, we all know the security sector is a big sector in our country. If you look at 43,000 square miles, the entire security sector in apparatus that has to do with procurement of security clothes, everything, payment is now in our hand. So as a government, breading, we inherited, there was a prediction from World Bank that during the time period that we were taking power, there would be something more like economic meltdown or something that resembles some recession or macroeconomic instability. It was predicted by economists around the world. The World Bank have the data, and you can go in and verify this data. So it wasn't about what did we do wrong. It was about what was not put in place right.
So who did not put something in place?
No, I just gave a premise. We did not take over from ourselves. We take over from an elected.
So that means the former government did not do the right thing to get you guys on track.
I do not want, like I said, we're here to discuss our sources. It's not about blame shifting. I'm telling you, when you take power, right, and make no mistake, you need a time to drive through. When we took power, unfortunately for us, we did not have the luxury of time to do downsizing and resizing because the governance infrastructure in the mind of Omeo and the United Nations, at the time we're taking power, the government would just fail. So the workforce in 2018, it is presumed that they were competent, capable, and willing to work. So unlike Manasali, who inherited an old workforce that did not come in the computer age, so the Akusumo Echo gave her that advantage to do downsizing and resizing. When we took over technicians in ministry and agency, who because of consistent with the theory of governance, that government is continuity, we could not downsize and resize them. These technicians in ministry and agency, instead of being loyal to the government, to the system, they were loyal to individual. Instead of putting in data that they were supposed to put in to reflect positively, they were doing the wrong thing because to them it was about paying homage to the past regime. It was about paying homage to individual, other than paying homage to government. So you saw there were leakage of information around. People were undermining the government in terms of importing the right data and doing what is right. So individuals in the system who had loyalty to the past government were some of the people helping us to fail. Over time, we needed to learn, be not deceived. In the first 2 years, there were challenges. Things that we know now after almost 5 years of driving, things that we know now, we did not know them 5 years ago. So experience we've got, the confidence we've built over the time has been some of the reasons why we were able to overcome these challenges. But again, it's better late than never. It's not about where you fall, it's about how you wake up and move and overcome these challenges.
Now, after saying such, let me go to Minister Thomas. So, with all the mistakes he talked about, some of the things that
I said missteps and challenges,
not mistakes.
Missteps and challenges different from mistakes.
He didn't say.
So
he didn't
you don't
say
want me to use
mistakes.
the word mistakes.
No.
you want me to be specific as to the word you use.
Yeah,
missteps. Okay, I will take the word you use. Missteps and challenges, like you said.
Correct.
With all of that being learned by the government, you want to tell us how did you people transition now from a failed country to a successful country?
The first thing I would like to say, we want to go back a little bit on what my colleague said. This has never been about failure. This has been about two situations that confronted a nation government that just took office. One, we had a serious economic deficit that needed vehement recovery. Two, the world was confronted with a global pandemic that created a global economic shock. Now, if I should say to you here that the last 4 years we failed, this is going to be a deception. I can say to you that in the last 4 years that we won this in the 5th year, we were making the necessary fixes and living up to the expectations of that which was unforeseen at a point in time. We didn't know there was going to be a COVID-19. The world didn't know this. But what did it do? It created a vacuum in administrations, not just in Liberia, across the world. Today, Ghana is suffering massive inflation as a result of that. Nigeria, similarly, you just spoke with a colleague a guy there in Gambia who made it clear to you that even there's rice shortage. So we were confronted with a situation that we had to fix a system that was thriving. Okay, so we started a process. We moved first phase. We move on to accept that which was already established without taking blames. We inherited an economy that we needed to progress further. Okay, we made sure as part of our implementation strategy, we brought forth the KAK that gives a level playing field to folks like you and other people that will monitor and speak to issues as they were. We then look at integrity institutions that will help us to fight the issue of corruption, which of course today a lot of people don't seem to understand this. With all of these things working in the last 4 years, if we should say to you that the government have failed repeatedly because there were things there were mistakes that they made, Sekou, we may not be doing justice to ourselves. Before I conclude on this note, China, when China closed after World War II, when China closed her economy to the world, China suffered one of the worst economic hardships at the point in time. But guess what? The people conceded, they adapted, they grew, and they belonged to that economy that they developed. When that was open to the world, China became the second most powerful country in the world, especially in terms of economy. So what we have done, and what this one time we have passed this scorecard, there are many other times. You know why? Because the platform has been established through the challenges of yesterday that we survived.
So you are confident that next reports could even be more better than what you are getting?
Of course. Why not? Let's look at both administrations have been unable to pass the issue of effective administration. I was with Julius J the other time and we're talking about it. And he said, look, Minister, you guys want to fail again. Now, the failure has never been on the shoulders of the government's inability to recognize the systemic breakdown. The people, as Liberians, play a major role as well. We spoke about it. So
how Liberians play a major role when you are to create the environment to make things work the right way?
Okay, I'll give you one sweet example that was just that occurred just a few weeks ago. We had a situation in our country where there was rice shortage. The acuteness of that rice shortage was even furthered by hiking and herding by very same Liberians. We had rice in the country that could at least survive us to the point in time we'll get a new supply. But what was happening? Because of the marketability of that commodity in places like Sierra Leone, places like Guinea, very Liberians who are supposed to be patriotic and very nationalistic were taking the commodity to neighboring Sierra Leone to make thousands out of something that their own people could survive. So part of our problems in our country in terms of effective administration, the people themselves has got a role to play, Sekou. And until they do this, how do you think you left from across the road to this place? Because you found out that in order for you to have the violence and the ability to broaden your journalistic strides, you needed a more refined and comprehensive environment with a lot of young people with a determination. That is why you're here. So similarly, if we must pass some of those scorecards or points that we failed, it means that it is a collective effort of all Liberians, not just us.
Okay, let me go to Randall. If you look at the indicators carefully, you agree that Liberia's scorecard is driven by a number of factors, including improved inflation from a high of 29% in 2020 to 7.8% in the new scorecard.
Yep.
How did we get here and, as a country, and what exactly were some of the measures the country instituted to get us into such a success?
We got here by complete fiscal discipline.
Okay.
We got here by a reform political will demonstrated by the president of the Republic of Liberia. We got here by collective sacrifices. We got there by the president. I remember we went to a cabinet retreat where the president emphatically stated that in my government, you have not come here to get rich. He first started by taking off 25% of his own pay and started encouraging all of us, his lieutenant, to do likewise, and it became a policy. Because
does that still exist?
It
It
does.
still does exist.
It does.
Do you have reference to give to
my
such?
friend? Let me tell you this. When we just took over my pay at EPA in my role, I was going home with about $4,000 take home.
You calling your pay on the radio?
No, it's clear.
It was then.
I'm saying that was what in the first few months. Right now, go to GT Bank. My take home.
I don't need your salaries.
No. My take home. No.
Don't be problem to yourself.
My take home doesn't reach $2,000. It doesn't reach $2,000. That's fiscal discipline. That's sacrifices that we bring in public service. It's not about riches. So you ask, what did we do? The president said nobody should. We stopped borrowing from the central bank. We became very disciplined. We work within a space of what we have. We work in our financial domain. We did not go off budget. Right? We spend within the circumference of the budget that we have. That's fiscal discipline. That's responsible financial management. We got engaged into intense domestic resource mobilization. We start encouraging people to pay taxes. We start making citizens be responsible. We start directing resources to governing related issues. We started empowering local businesses. Right? Remember when the president said we cannot be spectator in our own economy. Right? So for you to control inflation is to also start controlling the issue about confidence in your local currencies. Since 2020 up to now, the Liberian currency has appreciated and it has been wholly constant. Right? You look at the alarming rate of growth in terms of the increase in rate 2018, 19, 20, it was astronomical. Right now, the level at which it is growing is disproportional. It has been constant. So when you ask what have you done, we've been responsible. The president has not been sleeping. He has put his foot down and he has collectively, inspired his lieutenants to work in the interest of the Liberian people. He was never deterred because of those results from the elections, the defeat that came. It encouraged him to do more. So we arrive here today, we've experienced macroeconomic stability because we were disciplined in going onto the IMF program. We were open. Openness and transparency were enhanced to the full years. Data were collected. IMF group were on ground working with Minister Toye. One team is there at the central bank. One team is there at the Ministry of Finance, Development, and Planning. So those data, there was no way to manipulate them. And so because the government was responsible, the government enhanced transparency to the full years, the government set a target, a priority target. The government was never deterred by all of these roaring wars, propaganda, that the 16 billion, all of these things were never deterred by them. So the government has only been responsible fiscally. They have instituted a complete fiscal discipline. Financial management was very sound, and the pay cut, right? People's salary were reduced. There was spending. We spent based on what we have. We projected a budget that was realistic, and of course, the issue of budget shortfall was avoided. And so you see, we're just disciplined. This government has been disciplined, and this government has been proactive in terms of being responsive to the needs of the people, not being beclouded or shielded by the spirit of criticism. We did not allow our criticism to overshadow our desire to make progress.
Let me go to Minister Thomas. Listening to what Ranad said concerning all the good things, what the government has done, put in place, and all of that, how do you measure the indicator? When we stay here, the ordinary people in the country complaining that prices are still high, and as well as the cost of living in Liberia.
So basically, first of all, you're referring to the trickle-down effect on all of the good things that we talked about, correct? How does it impact the lives of ordinary people?
Yeah, looking at the indicator that talked about such.
Perfect.
They looking at our inflation, living from one point to another. And what he said, that all the measures, it is based on the measures, all the good things the government put in place. Even though these things are directly to affect the lives of the people, either we'll talk about, okay, based on all the improvements or the report, now you go in Waterside, things that they used to sell for $10 is being sold for $5, and there are improvements. Liberians themselves are saying it.
Okay, so first of all, I want to take a single unit inflation. And if I'm going to take inflation, I'm going to add you as a part of the example I'm going to make. I remember a few years ago when you could go to the bank and you wanted to get $500 United States dollars out of the bank. It was difficult, correct? Right?
I'm listening to you.
Today, if you went to the bank to even get $15,000 out of the bank, your own money, you can have it. What was happening then that took our inflation up to 27.5 at the point in time was the same thing we just talked about, the issue of herding and hiking. People thought that the best way to strangulate a new government was to take away the reserves and create inadequacy in currency. The first strategy was, like my colleague said, to exhibit a high level of fiscal discipline, widening your fiscal space while making allotment allocations in areas that will bring up the importance in replenishing your currencies. So people criticized the issue of the 25 million that was induced in the economy. But today, it is emphatically clear that has helped. This is one of the key formula used by the finance minister and his team that has helped significantly today to reduce the high level of inflation that we suffer. That's one. Two, Randall, where do you think the monies comes from each and every day that goes towards WIAC fees consecutively from the time President Weah took office till today? That is a direct impact in the lives of the ordinary Liberian students. What do you think last year? Where did the money come from when the Ministry of Gender did direct cash transfers to poorest of the poor communities? Where did the money come from? That's direct.
Do you have record to that?
Sekou, you're a journalist. The general ministry is there.
There have been complaints of most of these things that you people say impacting, interacting with businesses in the country. Like the small businesses, when they talk about now, the minister is being asked, and that of the commerce minister to the national legislature, particularly the House of Representatives, about the 4 million.
You mean in general for the small business? Look, Sekou, what I would say,
these monies have been announced,
first
but it is not impacting the lives of the people.
First thing first, let's acknowledge that the Frenchmen will say we created a melange government where our focus was not to take away those opposition brothers and sisters who worked then. We kept the expertise because we believe that all of us as Liberians, like President Weah said, must grow together. But these were some of the same very people who were masterminds that caused some of the problems we have. You're talking about the Commerce Ministry at the point in time that there were market people who benefited from that 4 million. In as much as it wasn't induced completely.
Until you can show us them.
Sekou?
Can I come a little bit? When you say
that is just difficult to believe.
Sekou,
really?
Sekou, let me be practical. To your question, what has been the effect? There are many effects, Sekou, and some of the effect.
The common people in Waterside and other areas are still complaining.
The common people in Waterside still buy rest at $13 in our region. It's the cheapest in our region. It's extremely powerful. You cannot debate that is the bulk price for rice in this country. It's 10 times cheaper than any other country around us. You're asking how has they impacted the poor man? The government has been able to spend 14 million over 2 budget years cycle to support the importation of COVID vaccination, and we are among the 3rd best in the world. During the time period where our people were dying, our country did best in terms of vaccinating COVID, brought in COVID vaccination, and you're asking how
there were a lot of assistance.
Let me list.
No, but
is that COVID thing you want to bring
up? But government expenditures also went in that direction as well. Sekou. Government spent some money as well.
The herbs that were brought from Madagascar.
That herb that did not get used.
The issue about the military hospital
never used in this country.
So we gave a chance.
No, we gave you a chance.
Debating, you
no, but then we interview you, and you also need to.
Do you want to debate?
You want to talk about the Madagascar thing?
No,
you want to talk about the Madagascar thing?
Sekou, are you debating or you want to interview?
I'm asking you.
No, if you want to talk about the Madagascar, find different moderator.
No, I'm asking you, Runner.
Okay,
can we talk about it? No, I don't want to talk about it.
It was impassive.
It means that
it was impassive.
It did not yield results.
Sekou, there's something called active and passive.
Meaning you people misuse the Liberian people money in that direction.
We didn't spend money. Sekou, where you come misuse?
But you said you brought it. They paid money.
No.
Didn't the people pay for the flight that brought
it? It's like all to the conversation you had, nothing to hang on your local.
No.
So let me proceed.
No, answer that one first.
Didn't the government?
There were contradictions, in fact, concerning that.
Okay,
Sekou. Let me ask my brother. There were contradictions concerning that issue. The president came up and said something different, and the minister of health came up and said something different.
Sekou, leprosy. I'm not a health minister.
But you
I'm
said
trying
it.
to- I was trying to catalog things that the
Okay.
poor people benefit
So
from.
meaning that was
So
not-
let's make progress, please.
Sekou, if you want to debate, I like debating with you. So let's find different
Go
moderator.
ahead.
So now you talk about what the poor people have experienced. Right? I told you about connecting about 130,000 households, to electrical grid since 2018. And then we've invested more than 65 million to bring electricity from the Ivory Coast. Go in Nima County. Nima County is the second highest county that has access to electricity. Poor people. So you're asking what has been the trickle-down effect? The trickle-down effect has been the construction of the military hospital in Makibi County, who is benefiting the poor people. You talk about what has been the trickle-down effect. Look at road connectivity, right? Look what happened in Nima County. Nima County has been wholly connected, even in the southeast. So these things have been having trickle-down effect. Trickle-down effect you're talking about. Today we're talking about agriculture material. We have provided over 60,000 grants to farmers around the country. And we also place Labrador Forest Reserve at the center of the climate change agenda. And today, everyone is talking about the effort Labrador is making. We've constructed the military hospital, of course, like I said. We've increased doctors' monthly salary from 700 to 2,000 per month. And we added additional 2,500 health workers to the payroll after the donor that were catering to them pull out. So what we've done in terms of directly impacting the people has been, okay, we've regularized and increased salary from 500 supplementary worker to 500 supplementary worker. Those people that are working and they were not on payroll, we increased them. We added it on the payroll. We gave 3,500 supplementary teachers permanent teaching status. The records are there. You can go carry a microphone around and ask them. We've instituted a free public college education that benefits 10,000 Liberians every year. And you're asking what has done to the poor people, the free wire fees that Macaulay talked about. More than 40,000 students since 2018 up to now have benefited. And we have added 1,300 teachers and guardian counselor to the GO payroll. What digitalization of the universal library has been enhanced. Today, if you go at the UL, every pavement has been done. You don't need to stand online to do registration. For those of you who want a universal library, you know how archaic it was to stand and do your registration. So all of these things are visible. We renovated SKD using $3 million as compared to $20 million that was used during the era. And SKD still remain destitute, remain archaic in structure, primitive in terms of its beautification. So we've done much with little resources. All of these resources were mobilized domestically, not for 68 years left foreign direct investment. No. And at the time we came to power, the governing infrastructure was set in such a way that by 2018, Labrador must be responsible enough to take our own responsibility. So the OME was here, the past government, they did not say up to the point where when we enter 2018, things will be flexible, healthy, and green. So to your question, how has these things impacted the poor people? The poor people themselves have felt the impact. Evident of the fact
and
that
I want you to narrow this thing, the both of you, any of you could narrow this thing down to our mothers in the market. How are they feeling this positively? That's what I want to know.
So
our mothers there in the market, how they are feeling the improvement or whatsoever, the growth in our economy.
But Sekou, first of all, I want you to understand one thing before we move forward. There is currently a global economic shock.
Before we
hold on a minute. I'm
issue,
coming. Before we reach to this global issue, what we acquired was
because this
was
report
an
was an
inflationist environment that we had to fix first. We didn't, like what he said to you, we didn't meet those billions when we came here. What we met, we had to first manage, we had to restructure and discipline ourselves so that we could be able to allow others the access to it. Okay? So that is very important for us to note.
So it's about the old man in the market. Go to Nikutan.
The market structures are built for them.
You see, brand new market structure. Those days, the old lady will go sell a leaf
on the side of the road
6 o'clock because of the lack of electricity. Right now, the old lady in the market can sell up to 9, 10 in there because
even Tupo
there is new market structure
that
provides electricity, clean, green electricity.
Monrovia is not Liberia.
Yes, because even in
you want to talk about other counties?
In Maryland,
even in Kakata, there is market structure.
Even in Maryland,
there's market structure.
Yes.
And everywhere the president went during the county tour, there were lights. There were projects donated. I got dedicated. You talk about what has the poor man felt in Bogondida. The poor man in Bogondida has benefited from over 1,000 of proper homes built and given to them. For the first time, people in other parts of Liberia were able to see Camo, were able to see light, We ought to see basic social services in their homes. He asking about the poor man. Yes, there is a poor old lady who I met recently when I went to Grand Cayman County who said she had 10 children. And if she tried to do the math, 10 children in a period of 10 years, each of them in 12th grade, she did the math and calculated how much she will save. The money she was using on wire fees and school fee has been saved and put into small businesses. So he asking how has the poor man felt? As the poor man who is a fisherman, there were over 3,000 boats brought into the country by motorized boat through the government mitigation with the government and the people of Japan. And the NAFA, the National Fishery and Aquaculture Authority, distributed the boats free of charge to fishermen to increase their productivity. So the fisherman who was just manually pairing canoe, now he has a motorized canoe which has increased his productivity and proportionally, right? He's dependent. Those who attach to him, they have bigger economic ceiling. So if you ask him what has been the dividend they are radiating everywhere, even on Seku. The environment was conducive in a way that a young man like you has metamorphosed into a brilliant entrepreneur and I enter in your studio.
Why always you people trying to make an example of me?
Seku, you are an example of this government. I'm being honest with you. You know,
in which way?
Check your age, check the history of this country. How many young men like you were able to build a radio station? The condition has to be provided because there is no political pressure. Because you know when you build radio station, you make your money. Nobody beating you for what you say behind the microphone.
Most of
that's
the
how
radio
we pass.
Don't make money.
That's how we pass. That's how we pass freedom of speech and freedom and civil liberty. Because there's no political
we have
pressure.
lots of issues to talk about.
Let's go to those issues.
We have lots of issues. Let's move on to political rights and civil liberties. You know, it is one of the indicators that Liberia recently passed in the MCC report. Now, has the government making, a pass in these two indicators? When we hear some Liberians, saying the government is not allowing them to exercise their political and civil rights freely in the country, taking into consideration or account the recently, protest July 26.
Okay, first of all, let's go back to June 7. One of the most politically manipulated and volatile protests ever. A one that many persons thought would have seen the downfall of this administration. As if that wasn't enough, opposition political leaders in their corners were preparing for what they thought would have been an interim leadership because they expected the government's response to be harsh and violent. But what happened? We were able to manage that situation, allow the people protest because it is the political rights, didn't take anybody hostage just by the little hula baloo here and there. And in the end, Liberia was graded by our international partner for the role she played. If somebody comes up today, Sekou, and say to you that this government is disenfranchising them for exercising and exhibiting their political freedom and rights, I don't believe it. It depends how. Sekou, constitutionally, where one man's rights begin, another man's ends. What may seem to be your right could be an infringement to the next man. So the government's responsibility is to be able to manage any politically motivated protest that has a propensity of undermining her peace and security. But she's always allowed the citizens of Liberia to protest. I remember when this incident happened with the supers and some of our, cadres from another group of the university. And the supers wrote a communication to the justice minister asking him for permit to allow them to protest, even at that level where it was highly volatile. He allowed them. When people criticized it, the president made it clear that it is their responsibility. Once it is going to be done responsibly and in the confines of the law, is the right. So when people say to us that we are depriving people of their political freedom, Sekou, you can't show me one political person in this country. You can't. So that's not true.
Sekou. There are distinction between facts and
fallacy
and reality, right? Facts and reality, right? And truth, right? Well, let's talk based on data. Let's talk based on how many people in jail, right? Let's talk based on how many times have we manipulated election results. How How is it threatening to the government? People are like, bro, for few handfuls of people to go and say they want to protest, and then government has to deploy resources. How? Government is been an extremely focus on providing support for the expansion of courts throughout the country, giving access to people for justice. That's what government has been focused on, and it has been captured on the MCC. Right? To this point, since the inception of this government, like Brother Daniel said, there's zero political prisoner. People sat in this country, they went at the executive mansion, they put out weapons that could kill. They brought out knives, mashing, they cook, they use fire. You know, when you cook, open it, you use charcoal, wood, and fire. That combustion occurs, right? So combustible elements occurring right there. That fire could have been just put on the mansion and people die. Petrol bomb could have been made. Those people were never beaten. Nobody was put in jail. People sat in this country and used harsh words. Nobody had gone to jail. Elections that were wholly consequential. 2019, 2020 election. Where since the foundation of our party, the Democratic Coalition for Democratic Change, we've never been defeated in most rural county. Those elections saw us recalibrating, going back in our political tentacle and rebirthing ourselves. We were defeated here by people from the extreme right. We were defeated by them here 2 times in a row. What more could have been more politically threatening than depriving these people from winning? When in this country, the president said, a Euro will not win election. What happens? Terry Euro went to a second round in District 15.
Did the president say so?
Yes, when it was campaign, he said, he said that. I mean,
we should make sure it'll beat her.
We'll make sure we'll beat her. But even as that with that statement, yes, she went to a second round with the ruling party candidate.
Yep.
And in the end, she was beaten. Jawad Dillon, the president, said he would not win.
He won.
And Jawad Dillon won. We accepted it and congratulated him. So what happened in the May 10 elections all around the country? There were more opposition winning than the ruling party. No election results were manipulated. These are the real issues that you should point out. Not inconsequential and immeasurable wild political statements.
One of the areas the MCC report talked about, or
so you agree that the issue about
I don't need to agree
isolated,
to you.
It's isolated.
I don't need to agree to you.
Isolated. So let's move on.
I need to ask you answer. Definitely, I will not sit there and say I agree with you.
But so you have rendered judgment here as I follow you. I follow you most of the time, right?
I didn't run judgment.
No, you run judgment. Sometimes you are a Liberian, a patriotic tax-paying Liberian. You know right from wrong.
Which one of the judgments I've rendered?
And it concerns anything that happens concerns you as well.
Yeah. Sure, that's the reason why we have the platform to speak the truth.
It's to say the truth on this one.
So
that issue about people protest is isolated. In fact, it was the first time in this country where protesters who want to bring down government will cook food for them. We give them bread.
So
we give them water. You saw the photo. I saw you there on that day.
So
I saw you there. So you were there.
I've passed that stage to go on the field to report.
No, I saw you there. So you are a senior reporter. Sometimes
no, I'm not a reporter again.
No, that was about 2 years ago.
Perhaps maybe you went for sightseeing.
I saw you that day. I didn't say right now.
You're talking about back then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
you have the data.
So the one of the areas the MCC report on is the area that I talked about. Liberia is controlling corruption, and seeing that report, what exactly did the government do differently as to give such a report when even the current LSCC boss has taken the government to court on some issues of, he termed it as not being done rightly the way they should be done. Either maybe people are targeting him to remove him from his position because he's being very, vocal in terms of what he is to do.
So first of all, the scorecards, the different points on those cards are signaled by different stats and data collected over a period of time, proving as facts. Corruption, when we hit this ground running as a government, the first thing we decided to do was, in order for us to be able to control the macrocosm of our economic vitals, we should be in a position to set up policies that regulate how monies are spent. All right? So you see that the president constituted an economic management team that was headed by the erudite Minister of Finance and Development Planning, Minister Twe. And they put to work a methodology that supported the different facets of our ministry agencies and public operations in terms of spending. Empowered the PPCC. There were great procurement processes. Money's leaving from one point to another. Even in the business sector, even at the central bank, there were a lot of financial fiscal policies that were put in place that helped to some extent. And in fact, there are even times when people who were perceived to be undermining the very system were sorted, and some of these things were laid to rest. So I wouldn't say that that component on the scorecard is a guess because the guy at LSCC says that government is after him because he's being focal. When in the first place, the component that today that has developed the new brainchild at LSCC, he was a part of it. Civil society organizations, international partners, the LSCC, they all consummated that committee that went up to draw and draft what was submitted to the House. To come back today, I see this for me, not as a cry that government do not want to fight corruption, but a cry of an individual who thinks that his job is going to be taken away from him, thus leaving him in a space where he feels threatened. And that is not the case, Sekou. The decision to make LSCC and that integrity institution with the prosecutorial power and other assigned responsibilities in terms of the Senate having oversight was not done by an individual. The president did not just get and do this. He himself was a member, like other integrity institutions. There was committee set up. The civil society organization was part of it. Even our international partners had a say in this.
The government is noted for dismally performing in the fight against corruption. Evidence to what the president said when the current embattled LSCC boss came up with alleged names of some people he felt they were involved into corruption from various ministries and agencies in the country. And the president appeared on one of the local radio stations and he said, they've got their rights. Thus undermining the fight against corruption, giving those of the people that were mentioned in that report.
Who were mentioned? Who were the people mentioned?
They talk about the Minister of Agriculture.
Okay.
They talk about other institutions.
And what did the president say?
The president said,
yeah,
they have the right. They need to go to court.
So who doesn't have the right?
And so when
hello, who doesn't have the right?
Hello?
How wrong is the president?
You think the president's statement was in the right direction?
Until the jurisprudence of our country, right? A man is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
So
did you expect the president to say these people are guilty?
And don't forget that the LSCC report, the LSCC
it's
report,
been sent to the president's office.
The LSCC report is not a verdict.
Yeah, but it was sent to the president's office.
It is based on the reports of supplied that individuals named should have their day in court. So that report does not signify a verdict that A is corrupt or B is corrupt. It creates a gap that points to malpractice here and there. Now he or she has to go now and make the correction. So the president was not in error when he said that these individuals.
You think his statement did not undermine the threat of corruption?
How? By saying that they should have the time in court?
Because the people in country and the president is the highest, decision maker in terms of the executives, in terms of who he appoints. Let me say this, in terms of who he appoints. So all those officials, including you people that work in the executives, you work at the will and pleasure of the president.
Correct.
So when a report is being sent to the office of the president, and that report is before the president's desk, and he comes out and say, even though the people reported that it is an institution responsible to report on corrupt activities from various ministries and agencies. And he comes out and say, even though your reporter, you say the people, they corrupt, I will not take any action. I will even listen, but I will wait. They should go to court.
Sekou,
is that not undermining?
No, Sekou, do not misuse the word undermine.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with that.
The word undermine has been, in my mind, misused.
Even this small.
Right? Let me honest here.
Why do you think it should not be used?
No, I'm saying it's been misused, perhaps, in my context. The president as the president of the country. He's the president of all. An underground institution brings up a report. Whether prejudice or non-prejudice report brought out. It was not a report from the court. It was not a verdict from the court.
Exactly. It was not a final verdict.
It was a report from the LSCC. and the people being accused say they are innocent. In no way and should be in no way termed as an honor against the force in corruption.
When
the real issue here, 1 second, is look at the report. Are you telling me the president has a single authority to manipulate data made by the United States Department of State? Because this MCC scorecard, the chairman of that board is the Secretary of State. You should not be accurate to say, okay, the MCC have said government is not doing well in corruption, so this is consistent with the perception on ground that the government is corrupt. But the MCC scorecard, the MCC report, which cannot be manipulated, is inconsistent with the perception in our community that this government is corrupt. That should be the debate, and that is the debate. The debate should not be because the president said should go to court, meaning honor money corruption. The debate should be the scorecard say you guys are conspicuously feel corrupt.
You want to say something before we move to?
Yes, of course. I just want to also remind you that the office of the president, he doesn't make decisions on his own. The president has advisors. When these reports are sent to the president, they are reviewed. There's an advisement period that provides the leverage for the people need to have the opportunity to have a day. When has this government ignored the issue of the court that you were saying today that the president's statement undermines the judiciary branch? No, it didn't, Sekou. What it does is that the president made it clear. Do you know from the onset of Minister Twer's tenure, his administration up to present, this man has been embattled from start to end. So with all of the embattlement, so if the president has said, okay, we are firing Twer today. Only to find out at the end of the day, these have been political struggles and fight against this man. We would have been here today. So the president will always, in his wisdom and with the team of professionals he has around him, make a decision that is not against his administration.
So how the government has been able to put in place measures in the areas of land rights and access. And the reason why I'm asking this question, we have too many cases in Liberia, issue about, land matters, conflict. People talk about how lands are being handled and all the kinds of things. What did the government do, different from all the North issues, even though they are reality in the country, to give them that scorecard?
Okay, so the first thing is, under the new Land Reform Act, this act brought to the table innovations that swept away the old idea or old philosophy of handling land matters. Okay, before, someone who was an administrator to a deed, even when the administrative period expires, the person still goes ahead and sell a land. Okay, you found 2-3 persons with one deed. and then in the ends in court. When the land reform was done, there was now a new computerized process that mapped and brought together all of the both whether traditional land, whether public land or private land under one scope. Okay, so today if you went and bought a land in Marshall and you wanted to verify if that land has ever been contested, you go to the land, you go to the land authority, the contestation facts are there. So unlike yesterday where these things were done manually, today we have a more innovative environment that is now appealing. So part of the reason why we scored there was the international partners themselves form a part of the restructuring of our land reform. And government has been in adherence to all of the principles and policies that were stated therein. So as a result, you find today there's still land crisis. You find, you know what's happening now? There are lots of land cases in court. In the end, when people get to land authority, the land authority is able to judiciously handle these matters. So we were able to score in that area because we worked. The good thing, like he said from the beginning, the good thing we've been able to do as a government, we've been able to discipline ourselves and listening. Take advisement from those people who want to see us going forward. So when our international partners say we need to do this, we get ourselves involved.
You listen to do it. Now, this point of the report is very important.
The land issue, right? I got a point.
You get a point? Okay, please go ahead.
The question you asked about the land issue is very much significant. And I just want to make a point as brilliantly articulated by our brother right here. And the Land Right Act as was passed in 2018, right? For the first time, provides that land rights for rural Liberians were recognized, protected, and guaranteed by law. And that, of course, was seen as by land right advocates as an essential ingredient for communities around Liberia. And then on that provision, there was a 10-year system which talks about as much as 80% of Liberians
20 to 2021, it's around 5.6 billion. More like dollar. So agriculture 136 million. This is United dollars now. Today, it's 997 million in terms of commercial bank lendings in the public. So, what are the ways that these indicators are drawn? It's on the basis of how much commercial banks will lend outside. Like we said earlier, when the country experienced a high inflation, when people were holding back their monies, you couldn't even go to the bank and get $500, like I said. But today, because of the commercial banks' huge lending capabilities, it creates. If I form an agricultural company, like when I went to Bomi in 2020, when I started my farm project in Bomi, I had like 27 persons that are working there. I created opportunity through the agricultural sector. So, employment opportunity, like many people may see, you know, when people talk about jobs, most times in our country today, people tend to focus on government jobs. Today, do you know part of the reasons why this government is trying to
because the same government
wait 1 minute.
promised the people.
The government is trying to desaturate this by ensuring that commercial banks lend more monies, new companies are formed, new Liberian businesses are merging, contracts are given to Liberian-based companies. Now, today in our country, government of Liberia employs approximately 85% of the employment circle, which constitute about 70,000+ civil servants.
You know, despite these progress, we failed flat in fiscal policy, scoring 43%. Why do we, you know, keep on failing here, as if to say, is it that we don't have the rightful people or policy formulation? Or maybe someone could say, you know, implementation is the problem.
But you want
Yeah, like I said, you know, from the onset of this conversation, we were made to understand that we're not economists. We are not, you know, managing the fiscal space of this country.
We can't speak to the issue of finances.
So the issue about fiscal.
But before you come here to defend things,
there's not gross failure. Like you said, Phil. It's not in red. It's in orange. It's going towards the color is changing. Before it used to be in red. So that's gradual. It's gradual. It's gradualism. So yeah, I was listening to Minister Tua. He was giving many factors. Right now, we changing the currency. When we came, there were lack of confidence in our local currency. There was manipulation in the business climate that the U.S. rate it was appreciating against the Liberian dollar. The issue with the 16 billion the issue with the 25 million more SSR. It created credibility issue on our local currency, and our currency was depreciating. So that perception has been roaring, right? You see the issue about people manipulating currency, making fake money oil, right? These are real issues the fiscal space is constrained with. Right now, our election for the first time is being funded. It's been funded more than 80% by the Liberian government.
51 million.
51 million. 51 million. Imagine if the 51 million was not going to election. Where else would that have gone? Maybe we have passed in this. Because when we talk about failing, the fiscal failure doesn't mean there was no sound management. Because if there's no sound management, there'll be inflation.
So I'm just asking you,
do not mistake
where the problem lies.
No, the problem, the issue about we donors are not forthcoming like they used to come. At this stage, we were supposed to be groomed so that at this stage we'll raise more money. So what government is doing is raising more domestic resources. That's what government is doing. I just listened to Minister Tua saying about 100 plus fiscal 100 plus million was created in our fiscal space, and now 100 plus million. That's why you take almost 60 million to go to Transco.
125, 65 million to Transco, and 51 to elections.
So imagine if there were no Transco and there were no elections, right? The fiscal space will be created and it will be widening. So keep this question for next year and see whether we feel this. Because next year there will be no elections. So the money now being used
will be induced in the economy.
It will be put in the economy and other things.
I
want you to in fact give the government credit from where we were when we took power and now at 43. I'm telling you that's gradual progress. That's gradual progress. And there are 20 indicators on the MCC scorecard. You need 10 to pass. There's the highest Liberia has ever reached.
In fact, in the MRU, in the MRU,
highest. So
Liberia's the highest.
Fiscal, right? We are not geniuses here, right? The fact that you should be highlighting the fact that your government only netting and it reached 12. And you want to look at some man, in fact, when they were scaling up, when they scaled out, even pass on the scaling up.
If you look at the statistics, MCC says the government is absolutely not effective.
Where is that? Where is that?
As we were
Effective
only able
administration?
to score 33% here.
In what?
Effective administration?
Effective administration.
Effectiveness.
Yes, right? So how can we get the government to become more effective as to, get a passing grade in that area where we made 33%?
Let me tell you this. Government effectiveness is not something that is way up there to the president. The president is not at the border serving as an immigration person right there. The president is not a policeman in the street. The president is not at the business registry.
But when the system is
I'm just saying the effectiveness of government is about our mindset. It's about people making tracks and don't want to pay taxes to the federal government.
I said the same thing.
Right? It's about our mindset, about people building roads in red. Like, why up to now the road hasn't reached EWA junction yet? It's because when the Chinese bring the rack and put it there for the construction road in, and then we come back, the rack is replaced with garbage. So when we talk about effectiveness of government in the context, does not necessarily refer to Ronald Dubai going to work. Because if I go to work, who am I administering? I'm administering a certain group of people who needs to understand that I give you service. I mean, I give you service for the authority you give me. It has to be mutual. So the effectiveness of government, like I said earlier on, is about technicians in government who do not want to owe loyalty to the government, but some individual they feel they were for this party S is not in power. They'll do everything to leak out. See, the president went to 4 different countries. I saw somebody leaking out his letter saying he's going to watch a football game. These are the effectiveness in government. But government is not magician to know everybody are doing these things. So again, nobody wants to fail if you go to school. But matter of fact, when you go to school, from 70 up, you pass. Sekou, every grade in school, when you were in school, you did not make 100.
Are you okay
no,
with
no, Sekou,
are you okay with you that know Randa?
Sekou, we made a pass.
Randa, you that know, are you okay when you make 70 in class?
Sekou, I made a pass.
Are you okay
Sekou, if I was making 50?
It depends.
If I was making 50, if I was making 50, in this case,
subject.
No, it depends.
In this case, this is like mathematics.
Yeah, it depends.
To pass, you know how many countries are on the pedestal for the MCC scorecard? Go check the record and see how many countries.
But they were 81.
And how many
56 failed.
And Liberia is one of those 30 plus that passed.
Now, 5% in primary education expenditures. Should we be ashamed of ourselves? Or how do we get to such a point?
Elaborate further.
He talks about the primary education expenditures.
Okay, so like I always like to go back to what the premise Ronald usually lays. We are not in education sector, but we will try in our own.
Education thing is not
no.
something.
No. Hold on, Sekou. You can't.
You actually know the problems.
Sekou, how do I do primary education?
No, it's not. But
how do you expect? No, come on.
These are visible things.
If you ask me, take for example, I have a farm in Bomi, and I remember 2019 when I went there. The mothers that were working on my property on the farm, most of the children were in government school. By the point in time, they were out. Okay, because the tuitions were high. Government then moved to make an adjustment that reduced the tuition in a way that, and I was able to pay for most of them, put them back. Okay, Sekou, the system doesn't work automatically. It is a rollover process. If government could make adjustment in primary education tuition at a point in time, today that is literally, we can say, basically free. Now she's moving towards, look at this, all public schools in this country. The issue of rehabilitation, only this administration started rehabilitation of public schools. Only this administration. So if the formula is to take one issue at a time, so as to not have yourself spread everywhere, that is what we're going to be doing. And this is, for me, I want to think this is what is actually ongoing. Because we've already reduced, or how you call it, public school fees. It's basically free in a situation. Okay, just registration, no tuition, just registration. Now, the next thing now is the Minister of Education and his team, they're working currently towards the rehabilitation with the partners of these schools. If that happens with the advanced curriculum that has already been established and books availability, I know the next time we'll be talking this, there'll be some improvement, great improvement. We'll pass that
Rhonda, you want to say something about it?
When we're coming into the studio, we came in purposely pay for the show to come discuss the passes of the government.
No, you can't restrict us. How to ask you? No,
let me be positive about the show.
Also, we should not talk about
because the negative is infinitesimal to the positive. The negative is less than the positive. The positive
you can't tell us how to ask you questions.
No, I'm saying I need to tell you what I've come to say. I've come to discuss government positive.
We knew what we were to discuss. We were to discuss the MCC. Are they not part of the report? Are they not part of the
MCC? Let's go to your question. Right?
I'm asking you first. Yeah. Are the questions we're asking not part of the MCC?
Everything has been part of the report. Why you did not ask about it? But there's something wrong with what is news? What is news? What is news?
Unusual things.
Okay, we have failed at least in the past 4 years. No, so now we pass. So let's discuss the passage. Let's make more emphasis because that is what the Liberian
we need to understand.
Yeah, you cannot use our time to discuss what you want to discuss.
No,
let's use our time to discuss.
No, you are not. All the time you're using when you to explain the question. You go far. You want to talk about education. You want to talk about education. The 5% in primary.
They said expenditure in education. Yeah. It did not say we're not focusing on education.
Spending.
Right? Matter of fact,
it means it's very low.
No, but look at the enrollment rate first and look at what it is right now. It has increased, and government has the highest amount of schools in this country. So when they say expenditure in education, firstly you gotta know against what they were measuring. You don't know the measurement indicators. So that's what he was saying. On from a generic perspective, we could just talk, but specifically, let's go to specific indicators. Go into that report and be specific. But you just
I'm being very specific.
No, you are not very specific. So expenditure about what? Is it about buying books? Is it about buying?
But that's what the report says.
No, the report did not say that. You have to be specific and tell me when you're talking about expenditure.
So you want me to ask you a question like that? Okay,
that's how prepared. I know you ask. You're always a prepared journalist.
But he's right in a sense because Sekou,
Randa wants me to ask him that. No, you from the government. The government has done all the good things. How you feel about the good things?
And I like the way you can use that word dismally. You want us to answer your question the way you ask it.
Definitely, I don't want you to do it.
No, but the thing is,
how you answer it is how the public will understand.
You said spending, he said in what sector? What component of the primary education?
Yeah.
And I said education.
What component of primary education that government is spending?
When reports are made for you as journalists, if you want to ask me,
is it the school? Is it the infrastructure?
Okay. Let me take you to another thing, which I think you're gonna be hauling with it again. But it's just fair enough. You guys need to relax yourself, but it's just fair enough.
We ought to relax.
Okay, you're listening to the program Issues of the Somebody. They're a very interesting conversation here this evening. The mind-blowing issue here, where poll in the current report that has to do with the natural resources protection. We scored 0 as country. So it means our resources are being depleted without any benefit to the country. Who should be held responsible here?
That was not what the report said. That's your interpretation. The report did not say because we did not pass. Let me tell you, the way people can pass is about the process of data collection. Sometimes you pass, but the way you compile your data. Today we have this EU. All of our team living in the country is on EU regulation and EU radar.
Yep.
That's natural resources on FDA. No illegal logging, no log leaves the country out that was illegally cultivated. Right? You talk about
the extracting industry.
The extracting industry initiative, they make report. Right? You talk about natural resources. Okay, B Mountain, you know how many people there are working? They be exploiting resources and giving government royalty. It's been captured. Right? You talk about MNG Go. Right now you talk about ArcelorMittal. They are one of the biggest taxpayers in the country. So Firestone is here paying taxes, the extraction of rubber. So it's just a matter of us as a government in very 4 years coming. There has been challenges in terms of, in my mind, because I'm in this sector.
Compilation.
This my sector. You look at me, EPA, the work I do at EPA, and you say nobody is
It is what the report is saying.
So I'm telling you what the report is saying. You as a journalist, I'm encouraging you because you're one of the brilliant young men I've ever interacted with of your.
And so
it means if you want to research, you can research. Seku, I know your research capability. Go beyond just what you see generically and go at the specific details of this report, especially the one that has to do with failure is what you are interested in. Right? Go to
so all the good ones are actually
the good ones, because the good ones I know everything about
Exactly.
class.
Also,
I know
so you who want to know what may or fail, go to the specific detail. And I'm telling you, we have challenges in terms of data compilation.
Yeah, correct.
From because entities, because you see, it's a
I agree.
setup. You see, in this one, Mines and Energy is there.
I agree.
EPA is there. FDA is there.
Coordination.
Ministry of Agriculture is there. LACRA is there. So it's
a collaboration of exactly.
So sometimes one of the direct government institutions that should be protecting the natural resources of our country is the Ministry of Mines and Energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what is it in terms, even though you guys
you making specific reference to the extractive industry?
No, listen, even though you guys are now, directly from there.
No, but that's my sector. I can say something very good, right? That's my sector.
So there has been some of these things where people say the mining sector in the country is not being controlled rightly. People doing things randomly by themselves, how they want to do it. One person sit in one of the big offices and control all the things that are supposed to happen, thus making us not to get what we are to get as a country.
Let me tell you, as a proponent in this sector, I must speak very authoritatively on this one, right? One of our major challenges in this sector in terms of the extractive industry and reporting is the issue about small scale and artisanal miners. This report, when you look at the detail of that report, they were positive in terms of large scale miner and exploiter like the class A and class B, because these are large taxpayers,
visible taxpayers.
But today, if you were to go to Nima County, there was a time that there was an earthquake where people left on the ground.
Yeah.
Those people who died there up to now, we cannot account for error because they were illegal, they were illicit, nobody knew them. They are protected by the locals. I can tell you this, when that incident occurred, when we have gone there with AFL, it was a joint intersectoral collaboration. When there, the locals could not identify where the actual incident took place because they thought we have gone to take bread from their mouth. This is a major challenge. And because we know this is a challenge, right now what we've done, we are working with the locals to create a cooperative. Since we know these people, they do not want to come in compliance, they do not want to be legal and pay taxes, we have to oblige them, force them so that they will become legal, so that for us to regulate them and get data from them, we must know them. Most of the people who deal with our natural resources outside the formal platform, right? They are illegal, they are illicit, and nobody knows them. And then most of what they use to do.
How can the government say no one know them?
I come in because you do you know all the criminals in this country?
So you know what those
about it?
No. So it shows the inability.
Okay, you can use your word, but let me tell you this.
Be honest now, Randa. How can you say you don't know when you are told?
Seku, understand this. You leave here today and go Sando County. The local who is there, he thinks that he is a custodian of the resources.
And you know what it is.
And that natural resources must provide his livelihood. You've gone there, you don't live there all of the time. Even if you do live there, we live in a traditional setting. Seku, we understand our traditional setting right here. These people, they don't understand the regulation of these resources, even though you are the custodian, but it must be used to benefit you. I'm not giving excuses here. I'm telling you what the challenges are in terms of collecting data. Right? And if it is just one place, you could enforce it, but where the people see it is
spread across,
and you don't do anything, uprising will occur. That's where political sensitivity comes in. And you have to be real about this. Now, what I was saying when you brought in that question, most of these small scale and artisanal miner, you know what they use for mining? They use mercury. Mercury is non-biodegradable. When it enters the Earth's surface, it has a tendency to destroy the Earth nutrient and leads to soil infertility, and then it lives there for over 500 years. So at the end, when these studies and when these reports are brought out, people look at what the impact is from these illicit miners and illicit dwellers in Labrador. And of course, much of the scoring might come from there because that is where the risk is. So what I'm saying here in our setup, that the issue about community logging is issue that we've been working on continuously to bring people into cooperative. In the logging, we've been doing well in terms of park management around the country, right? People killing of bush meat, except for you because you're Muslim, and I know you are a very good Muslim. You may not eat bushmeat. But you know how many people in this country want to eat bushmeat? How many Liberians love eating bushmeat? So when I said natural resource management, it's not just about the extraction of gold.
No.
It's
Okay,
about
let's move
so
to.
you get that clear now.
Let's
It's about, so you
move-
agree people go and kill me.
No,
So
I'm
you
not-
expect government to start running
rather,
people everybody
rather they agree
killing
to
me.
you.
And you may not even know all of them.
You
Okay,
may not.
so I think this one will suit you well.
It's not about suitability. It's about us articulating what the fast after the layman
But you're
out there.
angry with
I'm
me
not angry,
asking
Sekou.
about the other ones
Sekou,
though.
you know, I get angry with you outside, not in the studio.
So girls' primary education completion rate is 23%. What sorts of programs do we introduce as people and country to get more girls completing primary education?
The last time we had the Minister of Education at the MICAT's press briefing, he made mention on a new process that the Ministry of Education is embarking on to ensure that a lot of girls are enrolled into the different schools. So I don't know how they're going to roll that out, but I think you've seen also that the First Lady is also an ambassador alongside the Vice President in this matter. She's taking this up as well. Okay, she is working closely with a lot of young girls in terms of her first priority is to ensure that they make sure they'll be able to read, because she feels education is important, it's a component of any nation building society. So she has been championing this one. And if I say to you that the Ministry of Education has not got this as a part of their responsibilities, I'll be lying to you. But what I can say is that what the minister said, we are optimistic that moving forward, the new process that supports the MOE's education standard is going to incorporate a lot of girls. In fact, today the local scholarships have been provided here on the MOE. There is a clause that states that females are highly encouraged. If you look at the scholarship listing today at MOE, you got more female than male. Okay, so at the primary level, which of course is something that has to do with community entry, I think a lot more needs to be done. And like the minister said, they are embarking on a process that is going to ensure that community, because before, you know, this thing is not just in the 70s and 60s, when people go to the farm, our people will hire the children. They'll hire them. Oh, guys, people will take the children, carry them. Okay, only because and the people are going there to educate these children. So the same system still works. So the MOE, we are convinced that they are going to do everything they can do to incorporate a lot of girl children into the education sector, which is good for our country. Because the president has made it clear he's feminist in chief. I think you can see his exemplary with regards to even his cabinet. Okay, so this is a responsibility that the MOE has made relevant, and they are going to implement that.
So the president said, according to what the release or whatsoever, that I don't know. He said the minister that said this. I don't want to be specific.
What was that?
That the president will write MCC to ask them to get Liberia to the compact. What are the indicators, from our own understanding, before a country can be selected for compact? You must have had records of being successful in MCC, not just one time.
10 or 20.
And looking at the current number of countries that are to be in the compact, Liberia will not just be as so easy.
How do you know that?
No, but I think I don't disagree with you. That's your sense of pessimism. We have a strong sense of optimism.
Okay.
Right? So our sense of optimism comes in a way that America is our traditional ally. We've been with the in oil from the man fire soon has been around here since Cal was okay. We stand with America in terms of being a credo of democracy. In fact, today I'm told President George Weah is invited again in February next year, going to a forum organized by President Joe Biden, which is only for countries around the world who are enhancing and flagging the tenets of democracies around the world. And Liberia has been highlighted and invited. Beyond the December invite, right? Beyond the December invite, Liberia has again been invited. So we are optimistic. The case we're going to make a stronger case as an LDC country, as a country that is democratically growing, that has a strong macroeconomic indicator, a country that has invested enough into empowering our people, investing more into our economy, right? We think we are very much optimistic that we it's just about making the case, because right now we're talking about expansion of our economy, and we're talking about achieving a growth of 5%. You know,
it's still in line.
So we are extremely optimistic. So our optimism is just based on the fact that we've made a score that is unprecedented, and looking at the trend, all the time we were not feeling massively. We enacted something was making 9-8, and we were consistent. But more so, let me tell you this: more so, our generation, our jubilation today is not more about getting money from the compound.
Okay.
The elements within the MCC are those ingredients of democracy that we promise our people.
Yes, and we've delivered.
So, in a fairer sense, nobody should be saying, "Oh, that's for money." It's not about money. These are the liberal tenets of democracy enshrined in our manifesto. These are things that we say we're doing our pro-poor agenda. So, our delivery on this mechanism is not because we are aggressively tested for money. No, it's about the perception out there that the government is feeling. It's about the myopic misinformation out there that the government is careless. It's about the propaganda, the propagandistic posture that people have taken to pay lobbyists in Washington, D.C. to make the case different. To the point where, not many of these policymakers in Washington were focusing on Liberia every day. So the negative news they were hearing, they were made to believe that Liberia was going back to the dark days.
But your government paid lobbyists.
No, let me.
But that was a promotional basis. That was
promote image.
So it means that they did not work properly and allow the opposition to succeed.
But which government in the world does not have lobbyists at Washington?
Which is not occurring.
No, the difference is.
But yours did not.
No, the difference here is all the countries around the world, they pay lobbyists to do good thing for the country, not to impose sanctions.
Of course.
It is only in Liberia. So what this report has done for us is, there's a guy called Cummings. I don't know whether you know him. There's one guy called Cummings. He's contesting to be president.
Hey, my man, you don't know Cummings?
He wants to be president. This guy.
So you don't know Cummings?
The political astrologist, I think they say that's how they call it.
They say he wants to be president.
Oh, you mean the 7%, man?
Yes, okay, 7%.
Yeah.
7%.
So okay, we'll talk about politics.
He is arguing that this government is corrupt, so he should remove the government. This Coca is saying different things.
That the government is not corrupt.
The government is not corrupt. There's an old man called Boakai. He used to be vice president of this country.
Yeah, man, be straight to the thing. You can't be.
Boakai,
you afraid because
he successfully filled this country for over 42 years, leading in government. He says he wants to improve our macroeconomic stability. This report is saying government is doing well on macroeconomic stability. There's another guy called, I don't know, Onklo, he's my own people. He's an integrity guy. This government is saying, this report is saying, but the government is doing well in the fight against corruption. So let me tell you the merit of this report. The merit of this report is not about getting money. It's about showing to the Liberian people that we are responsible. We are delivering. It's just that we're constraining.
And wiping the fallacies of those people who think that
even though we're
nothing.
optimistic in getting money, but it's beyond money. It's about people saying we don't know what we're doing. And we're being evaluated now by the American validating and know.
And being
so that
knows
knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because we cannot browse the report. We cannot manipulate this data.
No.
So if you are out there and you are being manipulated every day, then your government is irresponsible. If you are out there every day and you are being manipulated, government has incompetent people. People who are shielded with incompetence will not deliver on this report.
Correct.
People who do not know their left from right, who do not understand fiscal discipline, who do not understand the creation of fiscal space, who do not understand financial discipline, people who do not understand governance and the rule of law, people who do not understand the merit of democratic tenets, and this time people should be in jail. But all of these things are just fallacy. Federal Liberians are not forced to that. This report that we've come to discuss to you is a report which is mystified the myth that the government is corrupt.
Yep.
That is what the Americans are telling you. So if you are out there today listening to us and you are formulating an opinion based on the perception they gave you, go and read this report.
Are you
Because
preaching now?
I'm not preaching.
It's not
Again,
preaching.
I'm bringing out reality.
Uh-huh.
Because right now, I'm imagine
And we'll give you the time. Go ahead.
And perhaps the point of, what we're doing, we're just laying the basis.
So now
laying
you're
the
about
basis,
to expand.
because if this report was up on June 7, the report, that June 7 will be useless.
Will be useless.
Let me tell you this: the guys are planning protests for this coming December. This report has muted them. They cannot plan protests again because who will you go to present a petition? It cannot be the American embassy where they present a report and say this government is doing well. It cannot be the EU where the IMF and World Bank that has connection with the EU has given a report and say your government is doing well. Ukraine and Russia said that's why everything. There's cheaper gas in Liberia than America.
Of course.
The other places in America and other places in our sub-region. Gas. Right? To this point, you still buy rest $13 in this country. To this point, people go to school free of charge. To this point, Liberia, I think, is a 10th or 5th best in terms of meeting the benchmark of COVID vaccination.
The third.
The third in the entire
Herd immunity in Africa.
What?
But you people are saying two different things, though.
What?
They may say war, they may say Africa.
No, in Africa, Liberia is the third. It's Mauritius, Mauritania, and Liberia.
Yes.
So, okay.
So exactly what he's saying. So we're not differing. We're agreeing with each other 100%.
Okay, sir.
Right. So, Sekou, in short, we need to find time to celebrate our president. Celebrate president. We have taken the toughest decision in 2019 by cutting people pay, by harmonizing people's salary, by instituting a mandate that says we are not going to borrow from central bank. We're going to work in our space. We're going to work
and build reserves.
Build reserves. Reinstate confidence in our local currency.
Yep.
Look what happens in Ghana. Every second, the Ghanaian cedi is being depreciated against the United States.
The inflation is so high.
Look at what happened in 2020 when we met at the time. When we met during your birthday, you knew the rate. 2020 the rate. Since 2020 up to now, the rate has been constantly been nothing.
Yeah.
What do you give the president champagne for doing the needful?
Okay, so let me ask you this question then before
What
I
do you
go
give
to
it champagne?
then before I go to the lines. The Congress for Democratic Change has announced a very big program for I don't know how they call it, a big program for the president.
You don't know how to call it?
No, I don't really know the actual.
You know who's coming?
The comments?
Yeah, you say I told you there's this guy called Cummins. He said I should go directly to the point.
No,
now you're saying CDC, the biggest political party in this country,
and this information is everywhere.
I should take all the information.
No, my man, you know.
Okay,
man.
you people are going to be having a program for all the presidents in terms of asking him or whatsoever to contest the upcoming elections in the country. Now, there's still this belief amongst Liberians that the president has not done so well politically to be re-elected in the country. What are some of the tangibles? I'm not just saying the political rhetorics, the tangibles that can be, pointed out to show, okay, yes, the government has done this and it has reached to a point Liberians are benefiting.
Was it cool? Komirano made it was almost like a recitation of all of the things that was done by this administration.
Not all.
No, I come in. He talked about roads that is tangibly seen.
Where? You want to name them for those of the people listening to you on the radio?
So I may not name all of these roads.
Few of them.
Okay, let me name. Right? The government has built more than 200.
Can't let you move closer to
the government has built more than 233 kilometers of primary roads since 2018. Primary roads like in Johnsonville, these are primary roads. Like in Rehab, primary road, community roads, right? 233 kilometers of road. The president has connected Ganta. We started the pavement of Ganta to Harbour, right? Ganta to Harbour is starting there in corridors, working here and there. Also, we've constructed more than 116 kilometers of urban community roads. Like I always see in Rehab.
Where? When?
You gotta list part there.
We've constructed more than 620 kilometers of primary urban roads
across the country.
Across the country. And some of these roads include now, like you see, we're connecting EW Junction and Red Light. We now you see Of course, I talk about Johnsonville, you talk about Doe community, you're always there to your American, Oliver
The
County,
Nicholas Town
right?
Road.
The Nicholas Town Road. These are roads that were not in existence. You see, the Michael Francis Road, I don't let them call it Chucky Taylor Road because in memory,
Vocal Mission
roads. So all these roads are available right now. If you go to RIA, you see the corridor have been cleared. And pavement is, primary rough work is ongoing. The RAP has been completed. RAP is the resettlement action plan, where people who have property along the corridor, they were identified, they were quantified, and they were paid off. So when you talk about tangibles, these are tangibles, and also we talk about we talk about re-establishing macroeconomic stability. That what we after inheriting a weak monitoring economic policy from Joseph Boakai and the Field Unity Party, we're talking about reform governance at the central bank, giving credibility to the new Liberian currency. We rebuilt and protected our international reserve from a low level that was created by Joseph Boakai and his Field Unity Party. We undertook reform of the Liberian currency and printing about 48 billion, including coins. The first time since the war ended, most of the young kids around here.
The coins has been introduced today.
Yeah, they did not use coins, right?
The 5 and 10.
And we brought that inflation from as high as 30% in 2020 now to 7%, which is the lowest. Joseph Boakai then left in 30%, the Field Unity Party. Now we brought it at 7%, asking for tangible. We raised the highest level of domestic revenue and passing the biggest ever national budget in 2022.
Housing units across
right? We talk about 88 billion. So we talk about tangible, what have we done? Right? So what we've done is very much let me go on to what we've done. Public safety.
We need the public participation.
On public safety, right?
Just conclude, please.
On public safety, we've also increased the budget of the army to 4 million in fiscal year 2022. We've ended the cutting of the soldier pay by 20% on a peace mission in Malay. We repay 1.1 million of sodium money that was used by Joseph Boakai Defense Ministry. Right, Joseph Boakai, when he was in government, the Defense Ministry led by one guy called Brennan Samuka. The money that was used, government pay it back.
Well, all these things we
didn't spend that money, so we incurred it and we had to pay back.
Okay, let's go to the lines, folks. We have
more tangibles.
We have of us as our guests this evening on the program Issues of Today on Voice of Liberia, Honorable Randall Dobayu. He's the Deputy Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, but he's in his capacity
co-chair from the Youth League.
Co-chair from the Youth League. Very good. So, and then we have Honorable Daniel Thomas, who's the Assistant Minister for Information Services at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism. They are my guest on the show. At a certain point you can enjoy when you ask the question of the men and say, but what you got to do? Okay, let's go to the lines and listen to you Liberians out there. The calls are coming now. Yeah. So I just need to announce the numbers for those of the people that don't have it. 07709079070, 07709079070, 0886907907, 0886907907 are the numbers to join us. Let me take the very first caller. Please move from your monitor. Hello. Good evening, sir.
Joseph calling from
Go ahead, sir.
I want to appreciate the two existing minister and also appreciate you for the hard work and for many years to public development created for the president for people to know and get the existing leader for information, and you are doing well. Especially if people are carrying to understand the working of the government. And if you are asking, why are you leaving the hospital in Baku? That is possible. That's okay. River Country now they are splitting poles. That is possible. That is possible. So we have so many people need for this government to be re-elected. Assistant Minister, please, I'll give you a number and I better follow you.
Thank you, Chief. Let me take another person here. Hello.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you ready to call you, man? I beg you. Let me take another person on the line. Hello.
Yeah. Good evening, brother. How are you?
You get plenty of people on the line. Hello. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Mama Guitar, one of the people defending are conducting the symphony to the executive.
Guitar, go ahead.
Let me really commend the government official in the studio. You know, President, we are government, you know how to be self to the people. What if you're talking about the Jojo Kiam? What do you care to the people 2023? So I want to comment on what you. We forget to mention the one fee then paid by the government. I'm a graduate. Yeah, fee then paid by President William government. Article 50A of the Labon Constitution give of freedom of expression. You open the radio in the morning, everybody speaking freely, no program prisoner. So the tangible for the government 2023 campaign for President George Manuel Weah, it would be very easy. So if you're coming from the opposite side to come to the people for your vote, you have to present what you've been doing in the legislature as an opposition senator or representative. You have to provide to the public. So the two
Okay, thank you, my brother. Let me take another person. Hello. Hello. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, man. I'm Charles Wilson. I'm forever right now.
Go ahead.
Cheko, thank you. Thank you for serving this country. You are a great man, fearless, and very objective. I know you got a system minister and somebody for you something. But as we speak, the information ministry people have no money. They have not been paid. Could you imagine in that ministry they paying people $50 and $40 and $60 and these people have not been paid up to this time? Tomorrow, watch that.
That's an allegation, though.
Huh?
That's an allegation.
It's not an accusation. Circle tomorrow. I said tomorrow, come there, you see the people wearing black to protest against the evil they are doing to them.
Okay.
Let me start from there.
Thank you. Let me take another person here. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good
Yes.
evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Sally, for affording a platform.
Go ahead,
Michael
sir.
is my name. Michael Kutumo is my name. And I join you from Central Moreover this evening. Yeah, so quietly and listening to you. But I guess not doing well to the public. We cannot be in a hard economic situation now. When we get people continue to spend the period of the CDC regime, all the administration, I feel like when people, you still you spill our lives, in fact, you come thick to the public.
So what thing here the people said a lot? Be Pacific now. What thing they said a lot? The Pacific one.
Yeah. You come to the public, you spill out lies.
No, I'm asking you, be specific about which one of the things they said a lie. So should not just talk all the time that people talk against everything they said a lie.
That is the political rascality we talk about. Like,
okay. Yeah, sorry for that. Hello.
Wow.
Yeah, Sheko, I don't know if somebody heard my line when I was talking.
No, you said you were concluding. So thank you, Dad. Please let's take others.
Why I concluding now? Please allow me just 30 seconds.
No, 30 seconds is long. Go ahead, quick.
Yeah, Sheko, thank you again. Those people got nothing to offer the Liberian people.
Okay, thank you. That. Oh, let me take another person. Hello.
Yeah, Albert O'Brien's calling from Papa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quickly, let me appreciate the two student guests. And then
let's take the other person on the line. Hello.
Yeah, good evening.
Go ahead.
Yeah. My name is not sorry. I speak to you from Patrick from Liberia. Yeah, thank you so much for your platform tonight. Yeah, I'd like to thank
Okay, thank you very much. Let me take another person here on this line 0770 907 907 0770 907 907 0886 907 907 are the two numbers here. Let me see the time before we have 10 more minutes to go. We'll take a few of your calls. Then you can call. For those of you just joining us, before I go back to the lines, we have our guest and what we discussed. You can disagree, but let us do it in line with what we've discussed, please. Hello. Hello. Oh. Okay, I'll let you go. Please. Hello. Oh, this is even worse than the other person. Hello. This is even worse than the other person that was on the line. So I need to let every one of you to go. I cancel the other calls that come in fact. Okay, let me just do this, folks. Sorry, we We have, you know, when you say don't move from your monitor, people don't listen at times.
This is
And what you
this is
do,
an issue advice.
what you do at times, we in studio,
Yeah.
we have. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, let me say thank you and thanks to your studio guests on Chismo O City and our call from the Bo District 16. I just want to say to your studio guests they should start posting on some of those things because like when people are in.
So even the ones the people pass again them and talk about it.
No, but Seku, tell your microphone, go on the feed, see how people sell it red.
And at the same, hello. They see American. Let me say something now. I beg you, please. And at the same, American people walk and say they want buy, and at the same people say go.
Get all the press and start going up. See how Liberian people are running around here for transportation and all of things. We are in struggle in the country. So
my man, gas is now you need to Liberia. Oh, too bad. Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Seku.
Sir, you came in very bad. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me say good evening to my brother Randall and Daniel.
This person sounds like Achiviko Do. Am I right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
right.
Very good. Go ahead.
Okay, I call my residence in Banazé. Let me appreciate the colleagues in studio, their brilliant exposition. There is only one problem I have with that MCC statistics on the issue of low enrollment of girls in school. I don't want to believe that. We did a consultancy work for J Trust Education International between February and March. We've selected private schools in 6 counties, and we came to realize that the enrollment of girls in school, because they have a project to encourage girls to go to school, so they wanted to compare before the inception of the CDC-led administration and the CDC-led administration, what has been the enrollment or the percentage of enrollment of girls. And we came to realize that there are more girls entering school now than in years before. One problem that we have, I agree with Randall, is the issue of collecting the statistics. The Ministry of Education has been very ineffective in collecting the statistics from private schools. They have done that. They have tried with public school, but private school is very, very tough. What I'd like to recommend is that they can seek the expertise from Legis to help them in data.
Legis that is unable to do census properly?
No, they have that expertise. That is the error of SDES. They may have other problems, but it is their area of expertise. They can help MOE to collect the data. I have a problem with that particular aspect of the MC statistics. I feel that more girls are entering in school because we did a survey on that in 6 countries. And they cannot say in America and say that
high school
enrollment is very low.
Just said the same thing. There are more girls graduating.
Okay, let's give the callers the time. Okay. Go ahead. Conclude. Okay, he concluded. So we have roughly 6 minutes to go. So let me hold the calls, please, guys, because we have the news up next. We can take all the calls, honestly. Okay, let's just squeeze in maybe this. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Good evening.
Yeah, again, sorry, quickly, let me just go through the issues to be harmonized. Yeah, again, I'm about the Brian's wallet. For capital papa. Hello?
You live, go ahead.
Yeah, and just for the information before we go into the scorecard that is, that is being applauded by some of our comrades around town. Google and rank that below the global hunger index. On the global hunger index that comprises of 121, Liberia is ranked 113th place. Out of 34 nations in West Africa.
I mean, you're back and
hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, so now, look at Liberia being ranked.
So what that means to the report?
Yeah, that means there are a series of challenges Liberia is going to go in the context of the living or the cost of living of Liberian
No,
people.
that's not it.
Right?
That's not it. That's not it.
No, you respond,
Hello?
Randall. Let me just conclude. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, therefore, or people or people to come and people are ranging prison where someone is looking at the fact that people normally live below a poverty line that is below $1.90 per day. Now that we have to go in the street to $4 is very hard.
Okay, thank you. No time. We need to go. Let me go to you. You guys listen to the callers.
So thank you. First of all, let me. There was one caller who made specific reference with regards to the Ministry of Information. This issue of protestation tomorrow. I just want to address that. The first thing is the Ministry of Information has had series of engagements with the Civil Service Agency and the Ministry of Finance. As I speak to you tomorrow, in fact, this week, there's been work done. The issue stressed by the individual is not just unique to Mika. When harmonization was done, it was done in a way that all of the salaries will be brought at an equilibrium, and gradually migration takes place. No system is 100% perfect. When these glitches are discovered, the Ministry of Finance and CSA moves in and address the matter. So, as I speak to you now, this thing he's talking about, these are some of the people you see that are trying to blow the situation at the Ministry of Information. The minister and all other ministers have been very concerned. We've engaged this matter 100%, and even up to today, we're still engaged in the matter.
Okay, so go to something else before we take all our time on this.
Also, the guy who talked about hunger and all of that. When we came here earlier, Sekou, what COVID has done to the world, before we have a reset, we all have to go through what we want to today. Nigeria has a bigger industrial economy than Liberia. Nigeria is going through the worst. Nigeria inflation is at the highest ever in the history of Nigeria. The Nigerians are even staying worse. But the facts still remain that this is not just unique to Liberia, it's everywhere. So people need to understand this. Okay? The other caller said that we in studio and we sugarcoating and we're boasting and we're singing praises. But he was unable to give us one single point that this government is not doing that we listed here.
Okay.
You see, these are people who professes political rascality. When these guys go out there, of course, that's being a rascal, because when you go out there, you say Rana is not doing the right thing. Rana has provided you all the evidence to do the right thing. But you ask him, say, what is Rana doing? You can't tell Rana. Is that fair?
Okay, Rana, let's hear you.
And so just to continue from where Daniel stopped, it's like the story of a journalist who wrote a story and said Johnny died.
Yeah. Johnny came before
he.
you.
Let's say Johnny said, man, let me not die. He said, no, according to my story, he died. So he died. The message I tell my story, he died. Somebody is saying, we're hungry. Where in this world people are hungry? I live most of my time in America. There's 7 continents in the world. I've been fortunate to travel to most of them, even before coming to government. You see, there are people who've been negative. 3 days ago, I was in Canada representing also climate change stuff, and some picture I posted. Other people say, "Oh, I'm playing traveling on government money and posting photo." The person does not even know that my first son I have is in America. I got a house in America, right? I'm fortunate.
You are on record though.
But you know that.
But he lived there before coming to government.
It's clear.
It's not government money.
So it's true that most of you people reside out of the country and just come here to hustle.
I use the internet from my own opportunity. Went to America for school at the time when there was alien government.
Okay, we don't have time. The news is up next. Randa,
this is my conclusion.
Daniel.
The conclusion here is this: the government is doing well. Then we restore the budget of the GSE to the level that is very sound and stable. Today,
let's conclude. The news is on now.
Today, the news, we're making the news.
No, the other studio is about to take over.
We're making the news. So, in conclusion, fellow Liberians, your government is responsible. We are doing well. Even the very American people, the American people say we are doing well. He's doing well. He passed.
I'm gonna put the news in for English too.
He told the test, he passed in 2.
Okay.
All of you continue fail. So support your we are here. Don't mind that guy that call Kumi. We don't know how to circle work or that.
Okay.
Don't mind yourself, but you don't know how to spend our money.
Okay. That's all the time. We've been having a very great conversation here this evening. Very hot, heated, by the way. We always allow these kinds of conversations. Tomorrow, I'm going to have the economic expert, Samuel Jackson, will be my guest from 7 to 9. Let me say thank you to my two guests today. Honorable Randall Dobayu, the Deputy Executive Director of EPA and also one of the leaders of the Congress of Democratic Change Youth League. Honorable Daniel Thomas, Assistant Minister for Information Services. Tomorrow, going to be back here on the program. Thank you to the entire team. My name is Sekou. I'm Sekou Sharif. Up next is the news.